Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisdom Save podcast. We took a week off last week, as you all knew.
Well, we took a week off because E3 happened, so we didn't have time to record, edit, post, or at all.
Because, the conferences were literally happening in the middle of when I would usually use, when we would record, and then I would do the editing, what little editing there really is.
And plus still. I was dog sitting the whole time, so I wasn't here.
Right.
So even if I was, even if we did have time to squeak in a recording around E3, I wasn't here.
The only thing I could have possibly done is done a E3 recap episode, which I would have had to record solo, and that didn't sound like something I wanted to do.
And then it was my birthday, and then we had all sorts of things going on.
Yeah, it's a very busy week, and by the time they hear this one, will it have been 2 weeks?
It will.
This week?
There was a lot. I was still not here.
Right. Well, because you were dog sitting for 2 weeks, 2 full weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks and 2.5 days.
Yeah, so a little, 16, 17 days or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was not around, and we had E3 for a little bit longer than a week, or a school week,
the
little less than a week.
The main conferences were 5 days, but there were some events beforehand. So the whole week, it was roughly E3 week.
We had a busy 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And now we're back.
Long way to put it. But yeah, we're back. And we figured we would stick with the tradition that we have tended to created this year with the podcast, where we come back from a long time away, and we just decide to sit down and have a cozy little chat with y'all. So we're doing another Roses and Thorns.
Yeah, it's Ken's episode. We're going to do a Roses and Thorns.
Yeah.
We take it easy from taking it easy by doing a Roses and Thorns.
See, the thing is, I kind of like it. You can call it, oh, well, it's you're kind of not, putting a ton of effort in or whatever.
See, the thing is I think that's what you think.
Well, of course that's what I think.
I don't think that.
Yeah.
I don't think that at all. I think that some of the best podcasts are ones you don't have to put a lot of thought into.
Yeah.
Most of the podcasts that I see other people doing, my favorite ones are ones where they just sit down and talk about their life.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too, is it, I feel like some of our Roses and Thorns are some of my favorite of our content.
Well, also, when we started the podcast, we tried to, have topics, make sure we, studied stuff, talked about things that, actually mattered. But I think as we've, devolved into not caring as much, and not about the podcast, because we do care about the podcast, but I mean about the topics. Once we stopped really being concerned with what we were recording, we started recording better content.
Well, also I feel like a lot of the content we were aiming to talk about, we kind of covered things on a very, very broad spectrum early on.
Mm-hmm.
We covered the broad overarching themes of certain topics, and so then when it came back, it's we could revisit this, but we'd have to do a weird, super deep dive, and I don't know if I even want to do that. We kind of covered the broad strokes of everything, so it's
I think our first half a year was doing a lot of get to know us and things we enjoy podcasts.
Yeah.
And eventually it's just evolved to us talking about D&D and events in our lives.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fireside chat or something like that.
Just come hang out with us.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just going to talk about stuff.
Listen to us tell stories about things. And this is one of our favorite formats to do so.
Yeah, so we're going to do Roses and Thorns.
Heck yeah.
Are you going to go first? It's your episode, so are you going first or am I?
Oh, no, I'm definitely going to go first. So I kind of, just because it's been a couple of weeks since we have recorded, normally when we do Roses and Thorns, we talk about the week. What happened during our week, what things were good, what things were bad, what things are we hoping are going to turn into something else.
Yeah, Rose, Thorns, Buds, literally that's the definition.
Precisely.
The good, the bad, the what we hope is going to happen,
nice
well or bad.
Recap for anyone who doesn't know the format, who's just tuning in for the first time.
If this is your first episode, for some reason you started with number 41 or whatever the fuck it is.
I think it's going to be 41, yeah. Well, because this is the first one after the E3, and E3 was 40.
Oh.
It was our 40th episode.
Okay.
Classic. But yeah, this is going to be kind of between the last time you heard from us and now. This is like a 2-week frame, because for the most part, there was a good like week or so where pretty much the only thing that was happening in my life was E3.
Right.
So it's like there's not a whole lot going on there. I pretty much just woke up, watched conferences, ate food, like watched analysis of conferences, and went to bed.
Right.
Like I didn't do a lot.
Trust me, I know. I didn't talk, I didn't really talk to you or Brandon a lot during E3 week.
Yeah.
Because I had other things I'd like to talk about.
Right. Exactly.
It always devolved into E3 talk, and it's like, that's cool and all, but these games don't exist and therefore don't matter to me yet.
I have a very different perspective.
I know, we know this about us.
But yeah, so without further ado, we'll start with my rose, which
I think the point you were trying to make is this might span a 2-week period
this is going to be a
1-week period.
This is a 2-week period, not a 1-week period. It's a little bit of a break from tradition.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, time kind of has devolved into madness for me anyways. So.
Time is a weird soup.
It is a weird soup. Okay. So, your rose.
Big surprise.
Uh-huh.
E3.
Oh my god.
I tossed around the idea of, like I was telling you about a couple minutes ago, I tossed around the idea of, like, recording some kind of, like, E3 wrap-up.
Yes.
Really, when it came down to it, this year especially, E3...
Oh, yeah, they didn't have a lot.
Yeah, E3 can really... E3 2021 can be summed up in a lot more of a low-key way than I originally expected it to be. I think a lot of that, honestly, and, like, I'm not dragging it or anything, but I think Brandon started out with the hype real high, and
You both do that.
Well, that's the thing. I'm a master of following the hype. If I sense the hype, I want to be a part of the hype, and that is...
No, so you guys are the two guys in the roller rink that grab each other's arms and spin yourselves so fast that before you know it, you're going like 100 miles an hour in the rink, and everyone else feels unsafe.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It sounds awesome, but that's you guys with any topic you're both interested in.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm the person in the middle going like, they're gonna hurt somebody, and I'm not gonna feel bad about it.
Listen, if we can give 110%, we should. It's our duty. It's our responsibility.
I hope you mean our, as in you and my brother.
That is correct.
Because it is not my duty.
No, I know that. Well, that's you're a very... You take a very opposite approach to that.
Yes.
You're very measured and reserved and chill. You're just... You like, if something cool happens, you're like... Oh,
cool, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then you just...
Oh, it doesn't come out for 2 years? Guess I'll forget about that.
Right. Whereas I just seethe with constant buzzing energy. Like a slowly bubbling volcano.
I don't have enough energy to do that.
Oh, I'm nothing but energy. It's the Aries moon, baby.
Must be.
But yeah, so I think he started out with the hype really high. He kind of had the impression, and I kind of thought that two things were going to be true with E3 this year. It was either going to be the pandemic happened and people were stuck inside doing whatever they could do, so they were either going to have a fuckload of projects that they were working on in the wings while they were stuck at home doing work from home that were going to be ready to go. Or they were only going to have a few. And this was going to be the first year, because the last year of development work was done during the pandemic. This could be the year where, like, everyone was kind of behind. And everyone is just kind of, like, building up to what comes from the future.
Where next year's going to be, like, the really good one, because they did all their work over the 2 years.
Yeah. And Brandon thought it was going to be the first one.
Yes.
Where it was like everyone was locked down. They had nothing to do but work on video games, so they worked on video games. That was half true. And I'll explain the reasoning why.
It was true for the indie developers.
Exactly. Because the indie developers...
are used to working alone in their houses.
And wow, the indies. But it wasn't so true for the big companies, who, for the most part, were kind of disappointing.
You know what I thought was going to happen during E3?
What's that?
I thought, just like most other years, that they were going to waste my time.
Well, that's because literally,
And they did!
Literally everything that isn't Nintendo is a waste of your time, though.
But I was right.
I don't. Yeah, you were.
I was so validated because there was a point where
you were right, but you were batting with a 2x4. Like
yeah, someone threw a bean and I hit it with a fucking brick.
Yeah.
But what is it? No, you. There's a, I don't know what concert it was, or concert. I don't know what conference it was.
Sure.
But you even said, you're like, it was so boring. I watched it and it was just a waste of time, and I was like, ha ha.
Well, that was the thing, is that there were a number of companies. The format was different this year. There were so many more press conferences because it was an entirely digital event. E3 wasn't ready to go fully, like, bring everybody to the show floor, physical presence kind of thing.
Right.
So everyone did digital events. The problem is they didn't differentiate digital events that were intended as industry pressers and digital events that were intended as showcases. Every year, the hype is in the showcases. Those companies reveal and show us new games that they're working on or new footage for games we already know about. And that's supposed to build hype and get consumers to get interested in your project, looking at it from a business perspective. A lot of these companies scheduled conferences, and those conferences were just basically Zoom calls where they talked about
this could have been an email.
Yeah, that was a lot of them could, like Gearbox. The one we were talking about before was Gearbox Studios, the people that make Borderlands.
Oh.
At Summer Games Fest, they revealed a game. They showed off Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Yes.
The like D&D inspired Borderlands like fantasy spin-off.
Yes.
Which looked really cool. But they didn't show it off at the Gearbox event. They showed it off at Summer Games Fest. Then 2 days later, we had a 45-minute event for Gearbox. And they didn't show us any other games. They talked about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands for like 8 minutes. And then just were like, we make games. And here's some people to talk about what our jobs are.
No one cares.
And they didn't show any games because they weren't working on any other games. They were working on one project. They should have just done a 5-minute stinger at the end of the Summer Games Fest thing and then not wasted 45 minutes of my time. And it's not like, the thing is, I don't necessarily think it's their fault because I think that whatever the video was, that was an important thing for like industry people. Like investors or whatever, people who are like going to look and be like, oh, like what's this company up to? Are they worth putting my investment money into? That's something that could have been for them. They should have told us that instead of being like, check out what Gearbox has in store for you. And the answer was absolutely fucking nothing.
And the answer was 12 old men and 1 woman we paid to be here and smile.
Right. It was just not, it was not that good. Examples of like conferences that I thought it's like, what the actual fuck were you doing? They had a conference for fucking like Verizon that I thought was going to be mobile games, and they were mostly talking about esports. I don't even know why the fuck they were talking about esports.
I don't know.
Mythical games, which sounded really, really cool. They had that like Blanco's Block Party game they showed off last year, which was kind of like a Fall Guys kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it turns out it's just like a weird cryptocurrency mining game. Like, the whole point of the game is, like, we have these exclusive Funko Pop-esque characters, and those are, like, the figures.
And they could be yours.
Yeah, and they're collectibles. And they can be yours if you pay us money. And we'll put a little NFT on the fucking foot of the character so that you can have your own special version of this with a special barcode that no one else has. And that appreciates in value. And then you can have more characters if you pay us $100. It was just
not great.
Just terrible.
Sounds boring.
Yeah, the whole like the way it sounded to me was that like it seemed like the whole game's purpose was just to mine Bitcoin.
Right.
And it was like this weird, like, libertarian paradise. I don't know. It was fucking weird. I didn't like it. But that was the majority of the smaller company conferences.
Okay.
Where the real rose kicks in was the indie showcases. Mm-hmm. I showed you a bunch of the indie games.
Yeah, those were the only games I liked.
Especially, for sure, because a lot of them were really fucking good. I had a couple of, like, AAA titles, most of which were ones that I was already excited about, not really new ones. There were some good Nintendo AAA titles. Ubisoft surprised me. Mm-hmm. Xbox genuinely wowed me. I thought they did a fantastic job. Compared to Nintendo, that also did an incredibly fantastic job, but I also expected them to.
Right.
Because they're fucking Nintendo. They can really do no wrong in my eyes. But, like, the indies were... I think I must have written down, like, 150 indie games I thought looked interesting.
Right.
At least looked decent enough for me to want to consider.
See, that's when Ken made... Because, as we've already gone over, most of these conferences I did not watch. Right. Mainly because I usually watch them. And I'm usually bored as hell.
Sure. Yeah.
Except for when they're showing off games. And then sometimes it's games I don't even care about, like a sports game or like a shooter game.
Right. Or like Forza Horizon 50, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if that's a real game.
Forza Horizon 5 they showed off this year. So yeah, it is a real thing.
But, so I didn't really watch them this year because it sound like a waste of my fucking time. But Ken put together a little mini...
Yeah.
Thing of, like, he wrote down all the games that he thought I would like, and then included some of the games that he liked.
Well, it started off as like I compiled the list because I was writing down everything that I thought I liked. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I was like, okay, instead of keeping a separate list, like, this is what I think Hannah would like, anything that I thought you maybe would think was interesting, I just threw on the list.
Right.
Then afterwards, I went back and kind of curated that list down with things that I'm like, Hannah probably likes this, or I left off like, I don't really care about this, and I also kind of feel like Hannah doesn't either. There wasn't a lot that I cut off of that list, but then we had that full playlist for both of us, and then we just kind of just watched playlists of all the trailers, so you can see what things you like.
Most of the game, because we were going through it, and he was like, okay, so I have the full list, tell me if you're interested in any of these games, and I'll mark it. And I didn't, approve any of the games until we got to the indie showcase.
Yeah.
And then I approved a good amount of them in there. And then I didn't approve anything else except for, like, maybe 2 games that, were also, either from Nintendo or, PlayStation or something. And they were, also indie games, but just not from the showcase.
Yeah, I mean, I as I'm going through it right now, there were a decent few, indies on this list that you made a point to be like, ooh, this is kind of nice. I want to pick out a couple of ones that I thought were really exciting to me. The Eternal Cylinder we saw again this year. Uh-huh. That was one where you were the little spore, like woobly Cubert dudes with the funny noses, and they wandered around the world and they ate stuff and they evolved.
Oh yeah.
And there was that big cylinder that's rolling around the world, and you have to try to find a way to stop it.
That did look good.
The game looked really, really cool.
But it was so funny because I remember we were going through the Microsoft showcase. And you're like, you haven't liked a game in a while, and I'm like, yep, sure haven't.
Yeah, I should have known better. There were a bunch of them. You like that Potion Craft?
That looked fun.
Where you could be a fucking
Asher Simulator.
Yeah, where you could just be an alchemist and make potions and sell potions and stuff. That looked cool.
Potions.
That My Lovely Wife. That looked super, a little bit creepy. The one
that looked really good,
yeah. Where that guy lost his wife, and then you, make a deal with, a Faustian guy, and you, summon the succubi, and then you, it's like a dating sim where you have to get the succubus to, seduce people, and then you have to, build up carnal essence, and then you, fucking sacrifice them to, bring your wife back. It's, really fucked up.
Yeah.
But it's also, a combination dating sim strategy game. It was cool looking.
Yeah. I might as well try it out. It sounds fun.
Yeah. What was that other one that, oh my god, what was it called?
I don't know.
That Solar Ash.
Oh,
Remember
Solar
that one?
Ash?
Yeah. We were like fucking surfing around and stuff. We saw more Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which was a game you were really excited about. There was that Bramble, the Mountain King.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, it looks spooky.
Yeah, the one with the spooky like Nordic folk tales and stuff, but it was like a platformer game. That looked cool. It's so funny because like a lot of those games were like all up in the indie thing, and then I go over a huge block of games that were not indie games, and then I come down to the Wholesome Direct, and you have like 15 things.
Yeah, that was it. The Wholesome Direct.
That one was the shit though. That had 75 games in it in the whole showcase. I think I put like 60 of them on my list.
Because every other fucking company under the sun is like, did you want to play soccer but not actually play soccer? And I'm like, no. And then they're like, did you want to like just shoot things and like have that be fun for you? And I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And then Comfy Direct is like, you want to be a bear and run a bed and breakfast? And I was like, fuck yes, of course I do.
Yeah, that was the thing, is that like honestly, like that was where the hype was. Like there were a lot of people that I knew like tangentially through like Twitter and stuff who were complaining about this E3, and 100% of the time, the same running thread between all of them was, oh, I didn't really watch the indie ones because I'm really only concerned about like AA and AAA studios. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
If you didn't watch the indie events this year, you didn't watch E3 because all of the gas was in the indie developers.
Yeah.
Indie developers killed it this pandemic. And I think we're going to see a ton of like big, influential games come out of this like year of production and like really do something.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the last one I wanted to talk about, that fucking Dark Deity. For the PC, I think it's only for the PC now. I'm desperately hoping we get a Switch port. It's like it's kind of like a Fire Emblem game. Like you had your characters and they all had their own different like classes and stuff, and it was like tactical base, and you'd move onto a battlefield and they would go into that cutaway kind of like Fire Emblem. They'd attack each other. They had the stats and things on the board. It was basically like a Fire Emblem style game, but it was totally different. But they had like dark elves.
Oh yeah, that was one that I was like, oh, I didn't know if I wanted to play it, and then I saw some of the characters and I was like, I might play it.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like they looked really cool. Hilariously, it's like I was hyped about it because it was a Fire Emblem game, and then there were dark elves and like orcish looking characters and stuff. So I'm like, oh, this has got like strong D&D vibes. D&D Fire Emblem.
I'll play it.
We've talked about like, damn, wouldn't it be cool if our campaign was a Fire Emblem?
Oh yeah.
Game? So like I saw that and I'm like, this is kind of fucking dope. Hilariously enough, they just put out a character trailer recently because I've been following them since they did that. They showed off a couple of the new like player characters you could add to your team. One of the characters is a fucking pirate named Ford.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so I'm just like, oh, I wonder if that's a Critical Role reference.
I wish I could develop games because I would totally like make our D&D thing a Fire Emblem game. I already like thought about how to make like, because there's so many worm tamers.
Hell yeah, we could do a whole party with it.
And I was
we could
like,
do a whole game with it.
Yeah, it'd be so fun.
There's already, if you just take like the core cast, there's already 16 players.
I think the main thing I did was, and I know that a lot of people don't like the like dating sim part of Fire Emblem.
It's one of the best parts of Fire Emblem.
But also because the worm tamers all have children, so I'm like, oh, there's like a point in the game where you could have kids depending on who you marry, and so I'm like, oh, so would we like attach the kids to the women or to the men? And I was like, to the women probably.
Yeah, right, that makes more sense.
But then I was like, okay, well then like what's all the weird like pairings that you could do, and like how would it affect all of the kids and like their traits and like their skills and their classes and like change them up, because then there's the canonical pairings like there usually is, and then there's the ones you could just like do whatever you want. Right. And I was going through and I'm like, I wonder like what other people would like if they could just pick who went with who.
Oh my god, yeah.
Or like who they'd pick to like be with.
Do different runs of the game and like see how different like offspring would. Oh, it'd be so.
Or like support fucking conversations between the different characters, A through S.
Absolutely.
Or C through S.
C through S, yeah.
And like who people would decide to marry and like how that would. I just thought that'd be so fucking fun.
Yeah, and that was kind of what drew me to that game in the first place. Like I was interested in Dark Deity because I was like, ooh, I wonder if like Because, like, there's an indie studio that's making basically a Fire Emblem game. Like, oh shit, like, I wonder if more people could do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what kind of creative stuff they come up with. Like, that sounds super neat. But yeah, for sure. I mean, like, Nintendo announced some great stuff. The fact that the Switch has a WarioWare game now is
fun.
Fucking magnificent. Microsoft surprisingly managed to convince me that I want an Xbox Series S. Like, really
I
bad.
know, that was all you were talking about. He would go through the Microsoft fucking showcase, and every time he saw a game that looked cool, or if I was like, oh, that doesn't look like it's the worst game ever, and kind of be like, oh yeah, sure would be good if we had an Xbox Series S, and I'm like...
Game Pass is like, it's $15 a month. You get like 350 games right off the bat. You can play them whenever you want. So many brand new games that they come out, they go day one to Game Pass. So it's like, if a new $60 game comes out...
Well, I would fucking hope so. If you're paying them $15 a month, and you pay that for the rest of your fucking life, or the rest of the time you have an Xbox Series S.
Because the thing is that, like, a lot of these brand new $60 games come straight to Game Pass. That's 4 months payment for Game Pass. So, like, if there are three new games in a year that come out, and I want to play them, and I get a chance to even try them. I don't even have to beat them, because I would have had to pay $60 to try them otherwise. If I just get a chance to play them, 3 new games every year, it pays for itself by itself. Not to mention all of the backlog of old stuff. You can play all the old fucking Elder Scrolls games, all the Fallout games, fucking all the Halo games, Halo Infinite, the multiplayer, and you know I'm a big Halo fan. I know you don't care.
I really don't.
I grew up on Halo. That's like the only shooter game I actually like. It's like...
He even put it on the list of games to, like, show me.
I did.
And I was like, why?
Because it looks so good.
It does.
Halo Infinite looks so good. I'm so excited. I'm there. It's like the one, like, I'm not a big shooter fan. I don't like shooters. Halo's the one exception. I fucking love Halo. And they were like, oh yeah, Halo Infinite multiplayer. Sorry we made you wait a whole year. Here's, like, footage of the game running in engine. It looks good as fuck. We took our year and we made good use of it. Also, we're going to give you the multiplayer for free, even if you don't buy the game. You can just play multiplayer, and if you have Game Pass, you also have the game.
Wow.
I'm just like, I'm a big fan of the effort that Microsoft is putting into making the Xbox as a console a very accessible, right out of the gate, ready to go gaming engine, and I'm like super into it. And like the Xbox Series
How much is it?
So I'm gonna get the Series S, which is, or at least we're talking about it. I have to save money for that, which is a whole other fucking thing. But the Xbox Series S is a digital-only console. You don't buy physical games for it. It has a terabyte.
Oh.
Yeah, it has a terabyte hard drive.
No, what I thought I heard you say was the console was digital, and I was like fucking excuse
No,
me?
like, you don't have to download a console. You get a box, and it doesn't have a disk drive.
That's
you
fine.
have to download
Whatever.
it. It's got a terabyte hard drive, so you can fit a lot of shit onto it.
Okay.
You can buy more storage.
I asked you how much it cost.
Oh, it's the same price as the Switch. It's $300.
Oh.
And it's the console. It's like the equivalent to the PS5.
If they ever actually send me my tax return, I'll just fucking buy it.
Really?
Yeah.
That is not something I expected you
Under
to
the
say.
condition that I never have to watch you play Halo, because it's boring.
Check me genuinely surprised on my podcast. Okay. Well, we can call the IRS.
We have to call them.
Because I don't know why they're withholding your tax return like they seem to be excited to do.
They like to do that to me. I haven't got it in 2 years.
Yeah. Which is like, you file, or at least we're pretty sure you...
I do.
Like, your family...
Unless Erica's been fucking up my taxes.
I mean, she'd have
but
to just...
I don't think so.
She'd have to just fuck up yours. Because
Yeah, because she does hers, and she gets hers.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know. But,
I think it's a me thing. That was a big... If she does. I don't think she does.
That's fair.
Because everyone else's she does shows up.
Right. Yeah, but... I think it's a really awesome console. I like the fact that with Game Pass you can pretty much just pick up a game and then play it, and then if you don't like it, you didn't waste $50 on it. You're just like, oh, at least I got to try it, and then you don't have to play it anymore.
the end.
Yeah, it's just like, it's nice to be able to just kind of, that's one of my biggest obstacles. It's like I can never justify buying certain games and playing them, because like, what if I buy it and then I don't really like it that much? Like, it looks good. That's the thing.
I don't really run into that problem.
That's the downside of me being a hype machine. Is I look at something and I'm like, damn, that looks so fucking good, I gotta try it. And then when I actually play it, it's fine.
I'm the living embodiment of, will that spark joy?
Yeah, you're Marie Kondo.
And I know immediately if it will or won't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll like that.
Yes, you are the rational one in this relationship. Yeah. I've made, there's no doubts about that. And that's why it's like, I try really hard to convince you. Like, when I was like, I kind of want to get an Xbox, because I was like trying to work an angle with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, maybe at some point she'll be able to see where I'm coming from. But like, it makes sense that I probably should be a little more certain of my decision before I drop $300 on a console.
That we don't really have room for over in our console corner.
That is another problem to deal with.
Yeah.
We'll have to find something to do with that. But yeah, the end result of it was like, Nintendo was great. I wish they announced a Mario Kart. They didn't. Xbox was surprisingly very good. Ubisoft had a couple of games I was impressed by. Most everything else, AAA, was generally lame. Indies fucking killed it, and people should be paying very close attention to the indie games that came out this year. If you were interested in gaming as a medium, there are a lot of indie games that are styled after other popular titles like Fire Emblems and XComs and Advance Wars and like Metroidvania style games and stuff that just look fucking incredible. And they're probably like $10. Just, yeah. Like, E3 was dope for indies. Check them out. That was my hype.
That was your bud.
That was my
E3.
That was my rose. That was,
oh yeah, your rose.
Yeah, I've been stewing on games for weeks now. But that's it for me.
Okay. My rose.
What was your blossom in the sunshine for the week?
Or for the last few weeks, regardless.
Or for the last few weeks. Also acceptable.
My rose is that I quit my job.
Hell yeah, girl, get it.
Which I guess, in the process of it, was also kind of a thorn, but that's not what I wrote down as my thorn.
Sure.
So as I literally told you guys before, what is it? I went away for 2 weeks to go dog sit. So I took 2 weeks off of work.
Right.
And I literally messaged my bosses, or I was going to, actually. They messaged me first with the schedule.
Oh, okay, I see.
They messaged me first with the schedule, and I was like, okay, cool, awesome. I'll be there when I'm supposed to be in. And they're like,
excuse me.
Thank you. And they're like, can you come in tomorrow because we have issues to discuss?
Oh, God. Yep.
And I was like, sure. I was going to come in today, like, to get the schedule and talk to you guys, because I've been gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
But, is it, like, I can come in tomorrow instead? Is it something, like, really serious?
Uh-huh.
Because normally you guys don't message me to tell me there's issues to discuss.
Right. An issue, like, such a vague thing to say. Oh, we have issues to discuss. What the fuck does that mean?
And so, what is it? I'm looking for the message. That's why I'm like stalling.
Oh, you're fine.
They didn't message me back.
Yeah, they just left that blank.
They just didn't say anything to me.
Yeah.
And I kept checking them to see if they were going to respond to me too. They like continued to be active.
Yeah.
But just weren't talking to me.
Like, oh, okay. So clearly not good.
And so I messaged my coworker, and I was like, "Hey, so my bosses are freaking me out. They said to come in because we have issues to clear, but won't tell me what. Do you know what it's about?"
Right.
And she said, "Did they tell you what the issues were? Are you coming in today?" And I was like, "No." And I'm reading this word for word, by the way. They're still ignoring me, because this was the next day. She was like, "I just saw this. Did they message you?" And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
I was going to come down to see her, and grab my check, but I fell asleep. And she said that it was there, and she could bring it to me. But what they wanted to talk to me about was my random vacations. She put in parentheses, which you rarely take, because she's looking at the calendar.
Right.
They saw that you took off parts of July, and they wanted to go somewhere, so they were really mad about that. Also, it probably wasn't you, but in the bathroom that they lock, that they're not supposed to lock, by the way.
So I never really understood this. Why do they lock that bathroom?
So they have two bathrooms.
Okay.
One has a men and women's sign on it, and the other one just has a women's sign on it.
Okay, so there's like some sort of unisex bathroom and a women's bathroom.
Regardless, pretty much that bathroom that has the women's sign on it is always locked, and it used to be a closet.
Oh.
And is still a closet,
But
just with a bathroom and a sink,
toilet.
like a toilet and a sink.
Okay.
So I don't think it's really safe for people to go in there.
I
But
don't know if I really want to shit in a closet.
But by law, they were supposed to have two bathrooms.
Oh, okay. So they just installed plumbing in the closet.
Yeah,
to be
so
like,
they
"You're up to
had
code."
so they had to put in two bathrooms.
God, what a disaster.
But they didn't want to clean two bathrooms, so they just kept the other one locked.
Okay.
And if people ask to use it, then we just have to tell them that it's out of order, and then they use the other bathroom. And if inspectors come around, we're supposed to like unlock it before they can check it out, so that they don't know it's locked.
That's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But regardless, the thing is too, is they always tell us, even us, like even the employees, we're not supposed to use that bathroom.
Okay. It's because they just don't want to clean it, right?
But we're supposed to clean it.
Well, then what's the fucking point of locking it?
I don't know.
You just don't want customers to use it? But you said the
But we're not
employees-
supposed to use it either.
Do they just want their own bathroom?
Maybe. Because somebody uses it.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming it's them. I don't know for sure.
I got you.
But somebody uses it because when I would go in to clean it, the toilet roll would like deplete, so I'd have to replace it. And there were like paper towels in the bathroom, but like people weren't supposed to be using it, so I'm assuming it's theirs. I don't know. But regardless, my coworker, she said it probably wasn't you, but in the bathroom that isn't supposed to be used, there's a toilet brush thing that had food chunks in it. Like someone threw up and tried to clean the toilet with the brush, but then left like puke on the brush, and they had to throw it away and get a new one.
Okay.
And I said, ew, yuck. That is absolutely not me.
That's fucking gnarly.
Because I can't go near barf.
Right.
Not even my own, unless I'm actively barfing.
As evidenced by all of the cat barf from the house you were dog sitting at that I had to go clean out.
Yes.
And all of the cat barf in our home that I have to clean out because if you see it, you begin violently gagging.
Or the one time I watched my niece throw up, and my brother-in-law has to go in and it was like giving her a bath. So I decided instead of just letting it soak completely into the couch, I would clean it. And I was plugging my nose and gagging and cleaning at an arm's length and just telling myself, just be an adult. Just clean it.
Oh, poor baby.
But I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm also a clean freak, so I'm not going to do that. Like, I would not leave the brush that way.
Yeah. Not to mention that, and I'm sure you're getting to this point, but not to mention that, like, if they have heard you...
Oh, if anyone had ever heard me throw up, you would know.
Yeah.
I sound like The Exorcist.
Singularly one of the loudest human noises I've ever heard come out of a person in my life.
Yeah.
Like,
it is...
Like, wake me up from a dead sleep levels of...
I've woken up the entire house before.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Like, there's no surprise.
From upstairs, downstairs, like, people all across the house have woken up to the sound of me barfing before.
Yeah.
It is excruciatingly loud. So you'll know.
Yeah. That is not something that you could have been like,
do in secret.
I did that, and I'm gonna hide the evidence. Like, there's no hiding that.
But I said, okay, well, I mean, whatever, that's relief. I can talk to them about the days in July. I thought I only took off 2, but whatever.
You did take off 2
I did take off 2, but that was it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I was like, I don't think I need more than 2 specific days, so it wasn't really a vacation, but whatever, I'll just talk to them about it. And then, I don't know if I got into it on the podcast yet. There's a dude that they hired to, like, basically just spy on us.
I think you've talked a little bit generally about him at one point during another Roses and Thorns, but I don't think you ever, like, got into the details of why this dude is a fucking weirdo.
Things with me and him have gotten worse.
Yeah.
Or had gotten worse since I brought him up the first time.
Sure.
He was very concerned about what I did in that bathroom, the one we're talking about that's supposed to be locked.
Right.
He was very, very concerned.
Well, because they want you to clean it.
They want me to clean it.
So you were going in to clean it.
So I would go in to clean it.
Right.
And then I'd go into the other bathroom and clean that. He was very, very concerned about why I pee in that bathroom.
Uh-huh.
And for one, I didn't.
Sure.
And 2, why is he very, like, so concerned about where I pee and why and when? Regardless.
Right.
It got to a point, I was like, whatever, I'm just going to continue to do my job, I'm just going to clean it, it's not a big deal. He started complaining that I don't do any work. Or that if I do, I don't finish my jobs. Which is hilarious, because I make a list for us of the things to do, and I give him 3 things maximum, and I do the rest.
Yeah.
And I make sure they're done before I leave. He would complain that I would sit at the tables and, like, not help him, which isn't true.
The only time before recently that I've ever seen that man in the store was I walked in while the 2 of you were working, and you were cleaning up the, like, condiment station area and the vegetable area. Mm-hmm. And he was sitting in the back watching soap operas.
Yes.
On his computer. I could physically see him watching them from the register.
Yeah.
He was sitting in the back, legs spread on a chair, mask down, just watching soap operas.
Yeah, that's what he did. That's what he does.
Yeah. It's the only time I've ever actually seen it. Every other time, he has been in the back and never interacted with me as a customer, ever.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is, like, so... And that's the thing, too, is he wants me to do all these jobs. So I do a lot of these jobs. So I want him to take an amount of the customers so I can make sure I can do all 12 fucking jobs in a 4-hour period. And it's not like I don't help him. But if he doesn't get more than 2 people in the line, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing and go help him.
Right.
And then he tells them, oh, I got a rush and she didn't help me.
It's 2 people.
It was 2 people.
Of course.
Apparently this man has owned a Subway and, like, worked there on his own,
He's
like, ran it.
One?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm assuming his employees weren't happy. Regardless.
Seems like a theme here.
She said that he snitched on me.
Okay.
And I was like, what do you mean by that?
This is the coworker you were texting.
This is the coworker that I liked.
Yeah.
She said he snitched on me. He said that there was a shift that me and him had where I would sit at that table and I was eating a sandwich and he had a rush that I didn't help him with. He also told them that I leave early and never finish my jobs. Reoccurring themes. Whatever.
Yeah.
But stupid. I was just like, oh my god, whatever. And then basically there are 3 things they're going to talk to me about. Also, they hired a new girl. They don't know if you want to come back. And they think that I was the one that was throwing up in the bathroom and, like, dipping the toilet brush in it and then leaving it.
Uh-huh.
He told them that I do that.
Yeah, clearly you did while you were away for 2 weeks. That happened. Sure.
But she said she figured out. She's like, this is before I quit. She's like, I figured out what it is and you can use it. And I was just like, if they knew what I sound like when I barf, they wouldn't think that. But sure, go ahead, tell me.
Right.
Right. And she's like, there's rust on the toilet. The water at that Subway is impeccably rusty. Sometimes it turns the water orange. Just because it's a problem that they don't fix.
That's that happens every once in a blue moon at the Stop and Shop in the same center of town.
But it happens way more at that Subway. Regardless,
right.
The toilet, the water is really, really irony, and so it like makes everything really rusty.
Yeah.
There's rust on the inner corners of that toilet, so when you scrub it, it looks like there's food junk in it.
Because it's like chunks of rusted metal. Yeah.
And like I don't really scrub that toilet because people aren't supposed to be using it, and there's never like crap on it. I use the toilet bowl cleaner, and I let it sit in there for like 15 minutes, and then I flush it, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. And I was like, she's like, you can just tell them that. I'm like, oh, so they just have a nasty store, and the other coworker wants to make up stories about how I barf in there and like dip the toilet brush in there.
Yeah, because for some reason he just doesn't like you.
And she's like, yeah, that's all they're going to talk to you about. Also, they want to know if you're staying or not because of the new girl. And then she's like, oh yeah, he also told them that I gave Brandon and Ken free food.
Which I remember this story.
Which is stupid, because you guys did come in for food.
Of course we did.
And you guys bought yourselves food and me food.
Oh, yeah.
And, Brandon made sure that he, like, was screaming about what he got, and that he was buying me food, and things that I wanted, and things that they were getting, so that there was no disputing what was supposed to be on this list of things that we were getting.
Of course.
Printed out the receipt. I circled what was mine, wrote my name on it, and then left it for them.
Right, which is proper protocol. I think, right?
Yes. And I didn't even give it the half-off thing I'm technically supposed to, because I was like, he's just going to tell him I'm stealing, so I'm just going to do it full price, just put it all on there.
Oh, do you get things at half off?
Supposed to, if I eat it in the store.
And you didn't?
We're technically supposed to get a free meal if you work for 4 hours, but we don't, so.
They don't let you get a free meal.
No.
I see. Okay.
But I was like, she's like, oh yeah, he said that you guys got free food, that's it. And I was like, I left them the fucking receipt.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, yeah, but he said you never charged them or didn't give them, like, charge them for bacon or something. It was a whole thing, and Shanti was upset. Oh, he said his name, fuck, I don't care.
It doesn't matter, you're not employed there.
I don't care. I'm like, you know what, maybe I won't say. That's some fucking bullshit. That's like 12 different things that they've piled against me on this one guy. Not to mention, before I went on vacation, I told them that I might quit because of this man.
Right. You, like, kind of gave them an ultimatum in a sense.
Pretty much. I was like, I am done having him be wary of where I'm peeing.
Yeah.
And being very concerned with my bodily functions.
Yeah. Overly concerned.
And like, complaining I don't do work when I'm the only one that does.
Of course.
And having a weird vendetta against me sitting. And, like...
Which I have seen him do so many times.
Which I only do when I'm letting the floor dry or when I'm completely done with my work and the's no customers.
You do not have to justify it to me.
Well, that's the only time I do is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not even that much.
The problem is if you do it at all, he will use it against you. And he'll be like, oh yeah, she did this.
Oh yeah, she did that. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm like, I can't work with him. And so if he's staying, I'm not. And they were like, you can't do this, you can't leave, we need you, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, if he's staying, I'm not. And they're like, well, what if we, like, put you on in the morning and, like, you don't work with him except for, like, maybe one day if you need to, and that's it. And I was like, I'd really prefer to not. Right. But they're like, well, do you, like, actually want to, like, quit the job? And I was like, no, because I needed money.
Right, but that was it. It's not like you, like, there was a part of you that really wanted to be there.
No.
Yeah.
And
you complained about it so much.
I hate that job.
It made you so upset.
It was my thorn every week.
And that's why it's your rose now.
Yeah. But regardless, I was like, they're like, okay, well, we'll, like, start giving you, like, shifts in the morning, and we'll try our best, like, not to put you with him, and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And then I went on vacation the next day.
Oh, shit. Okay, it was really that close. I remember this all happening. I didn't realize it was all one after another.
And I was like, and then I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to issues to discuss, and him telling them that I throw up places, and, like, I'm gross, and I don't do work, and, like, all this other bullshit.
Like, why did all of this come up during the 2 weeks you were on vacation? How were you even there for this to be a thing?
I don't know. But regardless...
Like if it wasn't already a concern of his the day before you left, why was it now suddenly a concern during a 2-week period that you were not here?
Right, I don't understand.
Yeah, fuck that.
But I was like, okay, well, I appreciate you filling me in, and then we, like, talked about normal stuff.
Right.
And I was like, thanks for filling me in. And she's like, yeah, it's not a problem. They just told me everything, so I'll just tell you so you can be prepared. And I was like, yeah, they didn't tell me anything because they wanted to catch me off guard, I'm sure.
Yeah, because they wanted to strong-arm you into, like, feeling
guilty.
and getting stuck in a rut with them. Like they everything that they do is all like a big power play.
Yeah.
They're just trying to find a way to like manipulate you into feeling like you've done something wrong so that they can coerce you into staying when that job is absolute dog shit. And no one who has the option to work somewhere else will ever work there.
Right. So then eventually I was like, okay, well maybe I'll go in tomorrow and I'll talk to them and tell them like all the shit that is wrong about the situation, and then I'm quitting.
Yeah.
But then in the middle of the night, I just wrote a really long letter. Which I don't know if I'll read here. I might. But
I feel like it's a lot.
It's really long.
It's a lot, and also you have to like censor like 15 things because it's
no.
Names and
It's names. I'd have to censor names, but
yeah.
Regardless, I was like, I wrote a really long letter, and then I was like, I'll send it to them in the morning once we get my check, and exchange it for the key to the store, and then I'll be done.
Right.
And then I'll send it to them and block them. Like, I'll get my check, give them the key, send it, block them. Yeah. But then we went to go get the check, and it wasn't open yet, because it was a weekend.
Right, yeah. We oopsed on that one a little bit. You never work weekend mornings, so it's like...
I never work mornings, period. So I was like, okay, I didn't know that's when I thought they opened earlier. But whatever. And so I just sent them the message anyways.
Yeah.
And then blocked them.
Yeah, love it.
I was like, I'm done. But then we went in later to get my check, and the dude in question, the jackass, was there, and you were like...
You sent me in to go...
To get it, because I wasn't going to talk to them.
Yeah. You sent me with the key in my hand.
Yep, to go get my check.
Yeah.
And...
Make the exchange.
So you were like, can I get Hannah's check? And he called my bosses and had you talk to them.
He sure did.
And they're like, oh, I thought she was coming in to talk to us today. And you're like,
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know. She just told me to go pick up the check. I don't know what she plans to do. I lied, because like I'd been home that day, but I lied and I was just like, oh yeah, I don't know. I just got back from work. I'm on my way to like go pick her up later, but because I like made it sound like I'm like, oh yeah, she's like somewhere. But I'm like, I'm gonna go home. I'm picking her up later. We're going to go do something, but I'm just going to pick up her check because she wanted me to grab it for her. And she was like, oh, okay, well, give the phone back. And so she gave the phone, like I gave the phone back to him. They talked more, and then he went to go get the check and gave me the phone again. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I just want you to tell Hannah that she should either come in or give me a call tomorrow, and like, you know, she has work tomorrow, so like just make sure she knows about it. And I was like, oh, I'll tell her. Yeah, sure. I'll let her know to come in, and I'll let her know she has work. So don't you worry about it. She will be informed. He handed me the check. I checked to make sure it had your name on it. It was all good. I walked past him as he went to help a customer, and I slid the key towards the register and left it there.
Yep.
That was it. And then you had already blocked them by that point.
I had.
Yeah. Then fuck them.
Well, the thing was, by the way they reacted, I was like, I don't know if they've actually read the message. And I don't think they had. Is the thing. I think they were still ignoring me.
Really?
And hoping that I hadn't messaged them about something else. Like, about, like, oh, like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? So they were just ignoring me still.
Yeah. Okay.
Because...
So when she talked to me about that, she legitimately thought you might have been coming in.
Yeah, because we went at 5.
Oh, yeah.
At 6:13...
Uh-huh.
My coworker, the one I liked,
messaged
me, what happened?
Oh, okay, yeah, so no one knew. Oh, man. Because that was so funny, because I thought she was, like, trying to, like, convince me to, like win you. Or I thought she was making some sort of play, like, hey, you tell Hannah she has to come in tomorrow. Like, she better come in. And I was like, okay, I'll let her know, like, sarcastically.
She goes, what happened? Why did you return your store key? I was like, I wrote them a message and told them that I'm sick of their shit and that I'm done. I quit and I blocked them. And she says, no way. I want to see the message. And so I sent her the message.
Hell yeah.
And she's like, did they respond to you? And in the message I told them that she had already informed me of all the bullshit because they wouldn't.
Well, that was the thing, is you were completely within your rights to be like, hey, I want to at least figure out what's going on. Like, you You deal with anxiety.
Yeah. It'd been like 48 hours. If I hadn't asked her what the hell was going on, I never would have figured it out. I'd still be freaking out about it at that point.
Yeah. Other thing is like they should know better than to and it was all a play.
Yeah.
Like they withheld that information from you because they wanted to stress you out, because they wanted you to come into that interaction with them already stressed
Feeling
out,
uneasy.
so that they could break you down even further. It was all a manipulation play, which is why they were probably pissed that you went to her in the first place.
Yes, they were. Well, the thing is, they were like, I was like, sorry for using your name in it. But honestly, it was more in a way of they wouldn't tell me, so she did kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing is it's not like you were
I was like,
you need to tell me this. It's hey, what's going on? Because they won't tell me about it.
I had already asked them and they had ignored me.
Yeah.
So I went and asked her what happened.
If they didn't want her to know, they shouldn't have told her. But it seemed like they were excited to gossip about you to her. So
right. Yeah, she knows, so whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, honestly, we had a conversation about all this crap before we left. I came back to all the same shit, but tenfold, so I'm done. I already applied to a better job anyway, so what did they tell you?
Yeah.
And she said that they started coming at her for telling me, because they felt like she scared me away.
Girl.
But she was like, but they were the ones that made you go away. That was not my fault.
No,
They're
it's not your fault.
they know that you deal with anxiety to the through the roof, and they should have just told you what happened themselves. They were upset that I went to her instead of calling them. I was like, I asked them what happened. They ignored me. I was like, it's straight up their fault. Most importantly, the other guys, because I'm tired of his shit. And for the coworker I was talking to,
yeah.
I was like, you're the only reason I stayed in the first place. They cannot be mad at you.
Yeah.
You had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Everything, you were the only thing keeping you there.
I was like, honestly, you were their only saving grace for me going in there and making a huge fucking scene in their store. Anyway. I was like, I asked them what was up. They didn't answer me. So I went to the one person who would actually talk to me.
Right.
And then she started talking to me about the new girl that sucks. That was the funniest fucking part about it, because they hired a new girl.
Uh-huh. While you were on vacation.
While I was on
It seems
vacation.
like they were even ready to replace you.
Yeah, they were ready to get rid of me regardless. They were going to ask if I was staying anyway, so I'm sure they weren't hurting too bad. Except for the fact that she was complaining to me about this new girl. And I was like, why? What's wrong with her? And she's like, I don't know, she's just weird. She gives me bad vibes. And I was like, oh, it's fine, it's whatever.
Bad vibes? Okay.
But then the next day, she messaged me and she said that she was teaching her how to close.
Uh-huh.
And that she was doing a drop, like a cash drop at the end of the day where you take all the money out of the register and put it in the safe.
Uh-huh.
And the new girl was like, let's just steal the money.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, that's awesome.
And so
That's the best they got.
Yeah, that's what they got out of this.
Get fucked.
And so my coworker was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? No, because it's hundreds of dollars. They'll immediately know.
Yeah.
And, we'll get in so much fucking trouble.
Yeah.
It's not even, just, fuck them. It's that's theft.
Yeah, we would do, that's a criminal charge.
We're not doing that. She's like, oh, whatever. And, apparently she's already giving out food for free to her friends.
Of course she is.
She has her boyfriend come in, and she gives him free food, and she eats free food, and, all this other shit. So, that's what they got in exchange.
That is, well, the thing is, that's what they deserve. They, on top of all of the things we've already talked about that place on this podcast, they run their employees, the ones who will do anything to help that place run consistently, they will run into the dirt and put so much pressure on them to get everything done. Because once they find someone who will do work, they need them to do all the work, because no one else will do the work.
Definitely not them.
Yeah.
Well, especially because
they won't even do the work.
They take the easiest shift. They come in and they open the store at the quietest time of the day. They cut peppers and onions. Sometimes. And then they sit there and drink coffee and take care of customers until about 2 in the afternoon.
Right.
Then they go home.
Yeah.
That's it.
And if,
then we take care of the rest. And if I forget to wipe a table, they're like, who raised you?
Yeah. And if someone missed the spot cleaning, they leave it And then when you come in, they're like, hey, you missed a spot cleaning.
Yeah, they do that shit.
They sit there for 6 hours staring at a dirty spot on the floor, watching it get stepped on, and then you come in and they're like, why didn't that get cleaned? I don't know. What the fuck were you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. There seems to be this like general sense amongst all of the management at that store that they shouldn't have to do anything. And because of that, they do actual nothing.
Yeah. The only reason I took that job
in the still together. I don't understand how it functions.
I don't either, really.
Yeah.
The only reason I took that job in the first place was because I desperately needed a fallback after my other job closed.
Right.
Like, it actually, like, closed down because of the pandemic.
Right, which was a tragedy, because that job was awesome.
And so I loved that job. And so I needed an emergency sidestep, and that was the one place I knew that they would be stupid enough to take me after I already quit there twice.
Right. For similar reasons.
For similar reasons.
Remain shitty.
And so when the new business that took over my old business opened up, I applied there, and I haven't heard back yet because it's only been a few days, but
right.
we'll see.
Yeah. And hopefully that'll be a rose for a future week.
But I've loved not working.
Oh, yeah. You've gotten so much drawing done this week. Mm-hmm. And you just feel like you're more awake. You're just like...
I, like, actually can sleep.
Yeah.
It's so
sleep
fun.
normal hours.
Yeah, it's really funny. I've acquired a bedtime.
You have. You fell asleep you fell asleep doing something. That's what I do. That's my job.
What is it? It was funny because we were doing Roses and Thorns, and Ken came home, and I was like, okay, here's my rose. I quit my job.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, my thorn. And then I went to Ken, I was like, have I been in a bad mood about anything this week? And you were like, I can usually just pick it out, like, straight away. I'm like, this is my job.
Yeah. It's usually your job.
But I was like, have I been in a bad mood about anything this week? And he was thinking about it, like, really hard. And he couldn't think of anything. And I was like, damn straight, because I quit my fucking job. Life's been awesome.
There's nothing wrong with my life. It's perfect.
I found one, but we'll go over it next. So that was my rose, is that I no longer work in an absolute shithole.
The lead up to that was maybe one of the most depressing roses of all time. But the end result is you're free, your skin is clear, pores are clear, relaxed. No stressful job to fuck your shit up.
Yep.
Just living your life. Just doing your thing.
Yeah.
Okay. My thorn.
Your thorn.
Starting with my thorn.
Okay.
My fucking family.
Your parents.
My parents. Jesus Christ. I mean, I could do a whole podcast on this.
And I've talked about potentially, like, just airing your dirty laundry on the podcast before.
The thing
but
is, like, they've mentioned twice ever listening to early episodes of my podcast. I don't think they still do, but they've at least attempted to listen to our podcast.
Okay.
So it's like, I was like, I don't really want to air my dirty laundry on it, because what if they fucking listen to it and then they're like, oh my god, I can't believe you put that on the internet. But it's like, this has
Maybe don't act that way.
This is more, like, this thorn is more of like I need an opportunity to explain, like, the nuances of how fucked up this is. So, my family.
This was happening at the exact same time, by the way.
Oh, yeah, this was the same day. Like, when you were dealing with that, I went to go talk to my parents, and we had a big fucking...
Yeah, this was the same day that I actually quit my job, because I remember you left to go see your family right after I blocked my boss at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was the same day.
Mm-hmm.
Bad day.
It was a very bad day. Oh, yeah. But, so my parents are... Growing up, they had a very specific perspective on the world.
Okay.
Is maybe the best way to put it. They, thank you, Peach.
Yeah, commence the drinking. We haven't had any yet.
Yeah, well, she likes to punctuate the drama.
Yeah. It's her drum roll.
It is her drum roll. It's perfect. Anyway.
You're fair.
They have a very specific perspective on the world.
Okay.
My mother, most of the time we were growing up, she worked in, like, retail. She is a goldsmith. She has like a degree, or it's not a degree per se. It's like a whatever whatever boomers used to get that wasn't a degree. They didn't go
trade?
to she went to trade school. Just like my dad did. My dad became a mechanic. My mom became a goldsmith. My mom used to work in like retail jewelry stores for a long period of time. Most of the time growing up, she was out working really hard, like day in and day out. My dad worked like most of the time growing up, less so now because he's older and like genuinely can't do it. He's developed all sorts of like fucked up stress related disorders. I remember like most of like my teenage years, when I would start staying up later and like I didn't have like an early bedtime like I did when I was a kid. I like would vividly remember the times when I would go downstairs to go get myself like a midnight snack, and I would see my dad on the back porch like stress vomiting off the porch. He would do this like on a nightly basis. The man worked like for as long as I can remember, from like when I was like 8 to when I was like about to move out to college, and probably after that. He worked like 80 to 85 hours a week.
Yeah. Too much.
Yeah, like more than was acceptable. And it's because, and my mom used to do the same thing. Like she would work like 40 to 50 hours a week. She would work every opportunity she had in retail, and they did it because they wanted to make a lot of money. Because they wanted to use that money to like buy a nice house, live in a nice place, like have a comfortable environment that they could raise their kids in.
Yes.
I understand the reasoning for it. The downside to that is
they didn't get to live their lives.
Yeah. Like, I don't really know who they are as people outside of their work and their domestic responsibilities.
Okay.
And like, I never really got an opportunity to like hang out with my mom or like hang out with my dad. We don't do stuff together. We're not the kind of family that says I love you. We don't like hug each other. We don't like, they don't have a capacity for empathy.
I know you've been attending our birthdays and that's been jarring for you.
It is like, I had a visceral reaction when we went, like, we were upstairs, we had like pizza and cake and stuff for your birthday this year, and all of us were hanging out and we were on our way out the door, and your dad said I love you to you.
He told me he loved me twice, and we also he makes sure on our birthday that we give him hugs, and he tells us that he loves us.
I've never heard,
at least once a year.
I've never heard a father say I love you before in my life. It's never happened. Not at least like with a sarcastic edge,
right? Or
like, I love you, but is how, like, it's always like I love you in the middle of a conversation about why you're disappointing me. Like that's where it always comes from. And the thing is, like,
see, I'd be the asshole that would just make them stop doing that by going, "Ew, you like my butt? You're my dad."
Oh my god. I don't have as sharp of an edge of humor, I think, as you. But
especially while you're being emotionally devastated. That's my spite.
True. That's fair. Yeah, it is kind of hard for me to react with that. And the thing is, like, I handle anxiety in a very different way.
I grew up with sisters.
Yeah.
I had to be sharp or else I lost.
A very good point. Yeah, that's a cutthroat kind of world out there. But my parents, and the thing is, like, I won't fault them for that. I won't fault them for the fact
I mean, you should.
Well,
yeah.
I know. I fault them for the way they are. But I don't fault them for how hard they worked. They worked hard because they wanted to allow us to live a life where we could, like, have the things we wanted and we didn't, like, struggle to make ends meet.
Right.
They just wanted things to work out.
Well, then at the end of the day, they pushed you guys out into the world and said, well, fucking you're on your own. You can't give someone the lap of luxury with a silver spoon, and then when they turn 18, kick them into the dirt and go, all right, bye.
Another thing, like, they didn't really do that to me.
They were gonna kick you out on your birthday.
Yeah, I know.
When you were like fucking 22 or some shit.
Yeah, but that was after I had left college, and they were like, okay, you gotta go out on your own and do your own thing. But the thing is, like, my parents are not the kind of people who have put any thought into like the nuances of how the world looks now for someone who is trying to make a living in the world,
Right.
versus how the world works outside of that. They see that my brother is doing well for himself. He got a degree as an accountant, which is essentially like, or as he's either an accountant or he does money math for big rich people.
Sorry, your brother's an accountant.
Not that kind of accountant.
A real accountant.
I'll put his OnlyFans link in the fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
He's doing well for himself.
He's doing good for himself. Not that kind of one. He got a college degree in basically the only thing that makes you money in the modern day.
Right.
So now he has money.
Lucky you picked one of the two things that actually makes you money today.
Yeah, he works really hard, and I don't fault Kevin for that. He does really well.
Well, yeah. But he's not the one making you feel like shit about it.
No, and he never does. He's like, hey, I'm doing my thing. And he doesn't, like, make a whole big fucking deal about it. My youngest brother is also doing decently for himself. He has very expensive student loans to pay. But he got a nice job. The reason he got a nice job is because my mom's friend owns a company, and she was like, let me just get you a job there even though you don't have any experience doing this. And he just figured it out because he's smart.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't have had a job that paid as well as it does if he didn't have that in.
Yes.
So, like...
In this world, you have to know somebody to do anything.
Those two made decisions that followed down that path and got lucky. That's not how I am. I'm the kind of person who I won't reduce myself to doing things that make me miserable just so that I can have 10 minutes of happiness.
Yeah.
That's who my parents are. They made themselves miserable for 50 to 80 hours a week so that they can have like 6 hours of joy every weekend. And that's it.
Yeah.
And their joy was mostly in just sleeping in because they were so burnt out from that.
Right.
And, like, I grew up around that. And it took me years to realize that other people didn't live like that. Like, watching my friends and, like, how they spent time with their parents. And they, like, went and did fun things with their family. And it wasn't just this kind of, like, constructed and manufactured thing. Yes, Percy, I will let you out. You are so needy. Poor baby. But if you're going to go, go. Okay.
He woke up and he decided it was too hot.
Yeah, that's fair. It is pretty hot in here. Where was I?
You're talking about your parents.
Okay.
I can't. No, the only willingness I'm able to bring to this conversation is if I'm going to cut them with every step forward.
Fair. What it all boils down to is the way that they got through life
was killing themselves for money.
Yes, and that's what they see as success.
Yeah.
I was their firstborn kid.
Yes.
I did really well in school. I got awesome grades. I was in a bunch of honor societies. I got a bunch of, like, recognitions and other honors denotations in college.
See, that was your mistake.
People have, but that was the thing, is it, like, it was part of that defined kind of, like, struggle and hustle culture that we built in my household. Like, you need to work hard all the time and always be doing really well because that's how you make something of yourself. And I did it. Like, I found something that I thought would do well. It took a little while for my parents to get to the point where they were like, well, like, my aunt was a teacher, so when I told them, oh, I'll do a teaching degree, they were like, oh, that's great. And, like, we had lots of conversations about how that doesn't make you a lot of money, but you can do a lot with it. Maybe you can be a professor someday. But it was always like, oh, you want to teach high school. Maybe you can be a professor someday, and that makes money. But it was always like, oh, that's what you've decided you want to do with your life? That's great. Here's how you make more money. It was never like...
Well, now they just wish you'd go back to teaching at all.
Well, that's the thing, is that, like, I ended up, like, I followed it because I'm like, teaching is the thing that I think, like, I enjoy learning things. And I enjoy teaching people about things. So I could just get a degree in teaching, I could become a teacher, and then that's something I could do for money that would let me like live my life and also not hate my job.
Yes.
Because up until that point, I had pretty much only worked in like really shitty like deli or retail jobs, and I fucking hated them, and I don't like customer service, and most people annoy me. So it's like,
Well, that's not true.
well, I like a lot of people. The general public annoys me.
Yeah, you go.
People who walk in with an expectation that I'm below them because I'm serving them, I don't like that.
Yes, that's true.
Absolutely. And so I knew I didn't want to go there. So I'm like, this is a job. This is something I can do. And then in my senior year of college, I did my student teaching. And I was really good at it.
Yeah.
My host teacher literally left the classroom after 2 weeks. He was just like, it's been 2 weeks. I've watched you give lessons every day for the last 2 weeks. You know what you're talking about. You can run this curriculum. I don't need to be there. You can just take the classroom. And he left me the whole class. And I just did the whole thing. Except for his honor class, because I didn't have certification to teach an AP course.
Yeah.
So he taught his one AP course. I taught his other 5 classes by myself. Made all the lesson plans, did all the work, did his classes for him.
Yeah.
That
he got paid to do.
That
and
he
you
got
didn't.
paid to do, because I was an unpaid internship, which is another whole fucking can of worms. But I did that. And the whole time, the only thing I could think about was, I'm doing really well at this. I don't like it. Like, it's not what I want to do. Because at the end of the day, it was just another way to do something that was acceptable to my parents.
Right.
Like, it's a way for me to at least make money doing, quote, a respectable job, unquote. But it didn't make me happy. I am passionate about tabletop games. I'm passionate about storytelling. I'm passionate about creativity.
Right.
I want to do something creative. That's not going to make me a lot of money.
Right.
No matter what.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to do.
Right.
I made essentially the opposite decision of my parents. And that's like when I was leaving college. That's when really a lot of this started. I mean, like, it was a combination of that and also the fucking 2016 election, because like my dad was like so far up Trump's ass he could see his heart. And,
Well, I think also a lot of it came from when he started dating me.
yeah, that's kind of true.
Well, because that was the thing, too, is because you kept coming to me with all these different issues that I see as non-issues.
Right.
And I feel like that kind of, like, broke crap off of you. Because I remember there was this one point where you were, like, really nervous. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't really know if I want to teach. Because you were, like, still subbing at that point.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't really want to teach. I know that's probably, like, not the best thing. And, like, it's not a good, like, idea. And I went through all this time to get my degree for it. And blah, 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 blah. And I was like, if you don't, just don't. Like, if you don't like teaching, just don't teach.
Right.
Like, sure, that would have been a better decision before you got your degree. But there's no changing it. You got the degree. You hate it. Don't do it anymore. It's like, oh man, I really hate punching myself in the face. Would have been a great decision on the first punch. But when you realize it, continue to stop. Don't keep punching.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, that's really what it is. Like, and I've done a lot of thinking about it ever since our blow up. Because, like, I literally, like, I stopped off at my parents' house. This is where this all
oh, this was the thorn.
Yeah. I stopped off at my parents' house this week so that I could pick up shorts. Because for my birthday, my mom bought me 2 extra pairs of shorts because I needed more shorts.
Right.
So she's just like, here's clothes you could wear. I tried to put them on, and
Your mother's under the impression that you are still a 12-year-old boy.
right. And so, like, the thing is, like, they fit, but, like, the way they were designed, they fit around the waist, but they didn't fit, like, around the legs. Like, they were, like, too tight, and there was, like, a seam that was weird. It was, like, it didn't fit. So I'm like,
I've already gone on the record and told you a million times, your mother does not know how to buy you clothes.
That's, you are correct.
It's the reason you have so many body issues is because she wants to dress you in, like, shirts that, like, hug specifically around the parts of you that aren't, like in a way, the parts that you don't like. The part, like, it's, like, really loose, like, right on the bottom, but they're also really short. And,
Yeah.
like, it's just, she doesn't know how to buy clothes for you.
Yeah. She wants them to look like a certain way, and they don't feel flattering to me, and they like dig into a lot of my own like self-image issues.
Right.
So it's like I don't like the, and I'm like, but when I go and I fucking buy clothes for myself, I'm like, I wear that like the button-up shirts that I bought at Walmart on a whim that one day. I wear those shirts every fucking week.
Yeah.
Every week. Because they're awesome. They fit well. I don't feel uncomfortable in them. And I, like, it doesn't accentuate the parts of my body that make me uncomfortable.
Or the few shirts that I've gotten you, you've worn a million times.
Fuck yeah.
And your mother hates them.
She does. She complains about them every time I wear them to the house.
Because they look nice on you, and she didn't buy them.
Mm-hmm. That's really what it comes down to. But...
Anyway, yeah, you went to go exchange shorts.
Yeah. And then she had bought new shorts because I told her, hey, these don't really fit. So she had the receipt. Or I don't even know if she had the receipt. I think she's just going to try to return them. But I gave her the shorts, and then she gave me the new ones so that I could try them on. And then for some reason, it turned into a whole conversation about... We were talking about, like, money issues, and I mentioned offhandedly at some point earlier that, like, oh, yeah, like, we're in a bit of a rut at the moment, and so, like, I'm not in a good position to go, like, buy groceries. Because I didn't have the money at that point in time to go do a grocery run. We just had to make do for a couple days.
Which is not a big deal. It's not like we had no food. We just didn't have enough money to go, like, buy crazy, like, good stuff for the next few days.
Right. But she took that as, like, I have $0 and I'm struggling. And she's like, he's going to be out on the street. And it turned into this whole big thing about, like, how I, like, need to find a way to get a job that's going to support me. And, like, she doesn't realize it, but she gets super personal. With her. Like, when
I'm sure she realizes it.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I'm still unpacking all of this.
I know, but I'm 100% sure she realizes it.
Very willing to.
You don't say shit like really personal to people if you don't want to try and get personal.
Like, and that was the thing. Like, I told you about some of this. Like when we were talking, and I was like, I can't put myself in a position where I'm working the same number of hours that Dad was working his whole life because I can't do that to my family. Like, I can't...
I also don't want you to.
Right. Like,
and that's one of the things that really irritated the crap out of me about that entire conversation, is that she tries to use me as a bargaining chip against you.
That was what it was, yeah. She's like, well, don't you want to, like, give Hannah the life that she deserves? You can't do that if you're broke.
Well, he's definitely not going to give me the life that I deserve if he doesn't exist.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, like, my whole, like, growing up, my dad was kind of a zombie. Like,
I don't want her speaking on my behalf, especially to blackmail you, and especially when she doesn't know what the fuck I want.
Right.
The lady barely fucking knows me.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, she doesn't know me. She sees my public face, the one where I smile all the time, and I'm really nice, and oh, I'm just cute, and
the thing is, like, that's the other thing that bothers me. She doesn't really make an effort, either. She's not interested in getting to know you.
Well, I'm not interested in getting to know her either.
Well, that's fair.
But regardless, it's like, I don't even care if she had an interest in getting to know me, because she's not going to find anything she likes.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
So we're better off just staying public face to public face.
Yeah.
But she shouldn't be trying to talk out of my mouth.
Yeah, no, and then that was kind of where the argument started. Because it was her just kind of, like, doing the same shit, and I'm used to it. So I was like, okay. And then she brought you into it, and that was when it kind of turned into a whole fucking thing. Because that, like, that's my limit.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, too, is, like, I will be happy doing what we enjoy and living in a shitty 1 or 2 bedroom apartment for the rest of my life. I don't want to live in a mansion. I don't want, like, to go to, like, lobster dinners and, like... Or have you send me on one because you're working.
Right.
Like, I don't want any of that shit. I want to just lay in bed and eat, like, a fucking crappy ice cream sandwich and, like, work on D&D the rest of my life. Yeah. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Like...
And that was what it came down to. Is like the real crux of the thorn that it came through this week, which is, like, I'm trying to come to terms with the fact that the way that I have decided I want to live my life is I am not willing to sacrifice my time and my happiness so that I can make money.
Time and happiness are the only things you can't get back.
And especially on top of that, it's like, I consider me spending my time wisely, doing the things that make me happy, and that, like, allow me to kind of, like, enjoy life beyond just work. Those are the things that make me feel successful. I, like, the kind of success that people feel when they make a big promotion at work, or they, like win the lottery, or like shit like that. The kind of, like, man, I really made it. That's what I feel when we walk out of our Friday night D&D game and all of you are, like, frothing at the mouth at whatever crazy shit just happened. The look on everyone's faces when I get to create a story that you all are, like, fully invested in and in love with, and like are constantly asking for more. Like, that to me is success. But to my parents, they will never understand that.
No.
Because to them, success is a figure. Success is a number. Success is how much money you make.
Right.
And any sacrifices that you need to make in your personal life in order to make that number higher, to them are worth it. And to me, it is unquestionable.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've said this to you, and, like, I'm going to preface this by saying, like, don't take this as like a cry for help or anything, or like some sort of big thing. But I have said, like, if I end up in a situation where I worked like my dad did, where I'm, like, most of my life is I go to work, I come home, I sleep and ignore my family, go back to work. If my whole life was just working and sleeping, I would not be alive anymore.
No.
Because there's nothing to it. There's nothing in that kind of a life that brings me any joy. At that point,
there's no reason to be here anymore at that point.
I'm just a robot that exists
to print money.
Yeah. And I get that. Like, I get why that worked for my parents. I guess, like, it was a different generation. They're both kind of depressed, kind of damaged, and kind of miserable people who use their work to hide their misery.
Yeah. So of course they didn't care about doing it that much.
Because if they have time away from work with their thoughts, they only think about the things that make them sad. So they just throw themselves into it, and they think that they can avoid their problems.
We have it in the reverse.
Yeah, we have it in the, like,
the things that are keeping me away from what brings me joy is work.
Exactly. Because, like, I mean, we're a generation that goes to work on a daily basis, and we work our asses off, and we come home exhausted and burnt out, and we barely have enough money to pay for groceries, and we certainly don't have enough money to move out, no matter how hard we work.
Right.
And, like, that's a different lifestyle from them, who, like, they were growing up during a time period where their parents, like...
They could throw a nickel at a dude and get a house.
Yeah, like, my grandmother on my mom's side, like, she stayed home and took care of the house. And my grandfather, like, worked a, like, really basic, simple job, like, running a small business. And she put all the kids through school, she put all the kids through trade school and or college, and they all went on to, like, own property, own multiple properties.
Yeah.
Like, not just their homes, but also rental properties. Like, they built success out of basically nothing, with only one person in the household working. We can't do that nowadays.
Yeah.
And the only escape from that constant depressing void is the things that make us happy.
I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Just, like, take all of whatever the fuck is, like, the energy that would go towards caring about anything they said, and just push it towards making that, like, D&D bar.
Now, that would be pretty cool, huh? That would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Run one-shots at the bar.
Yeah.
Like, event nights. Yeah. I think that'd be really neat. I mean, the cost of running a business nowadays
it's expensive.
Like, it's a whole thing. But, like, that could be, it's a dream.
Yeah.
It's a goal. It's a goal for the future.
Well, that's the thing, too, is you probably wouldn't make a fuckload of money off of it either, but it's also, like, then work is what you like. And also just don't listen to anything they have to say about it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was what it came down to. Like, I just, like, I think that, like, I need to make a point to distance myself from them because we have come to the point where I now understand what the impasse is, and I don't think it's overcomable. Like, I don't think my parents will ever see that my joy comes not from money but from experience.
Right.
And my parents can't, like, and I can't see where the joy comes from in the fact that they own things. They have things. I can go to their house and I can have a nice meal. I can live in a central air conditioned house. At their house I had all the luxuries and amenities and all the things that I would need to live a comfortable, simple, or happy life at that house for any normal person. But I was miserable.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy. I lived inside of my, weird, white-walled prison shell, and I,
basically just told to shut up and be happy.
No one in our house said they loved each other, and no one has any close connection, and most of us don't really talk to each other. We just kind of existed in this sort of pseudo-luxury we built for ourselves, but it's all kind of hollow.
Yeah.
And I have been spending most of my life trying to find a way to break away from that and then avoid it forever.
Yeah.
And I think, my parents are the last people who are turning around and saying, no, you can't do that. You need to do this.
They can't tell you what to do.
Right. And that's the thing, is that, I'm getting to the point where now I'm I don't. And I'm not going to. And that's where all this tension is coming from.
Yeah.
It's they can't accept that they worked so hard to do something that they thought was helping, and then it turns out they were wrong.
Yeah.
And, that's the thing I really don't blame about. They, in a weird way...
I mean, I don't know.
Fucked up. They thought that what they were doing was right. Now they can't let it go, and they can't see where I'm coming from. And... that I can't help them with.
I was gonna say, it seems more like they had an idea of what you were going to be. You are not that. And they fucking can't get over it. And if they can't get over it, then just don't fucking talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
You don't, if literally every time you go to see them, you're flinching away from seeing them, don't see them.
Yeah.
And I know it's harder said than done because they're family, but literally, I'm cutthroat.
Yeah, right, true.
I'm not afraid to be a giant bitch, a giant spiteful asshole to anybody.
It's one of my favorite things about you.
There was a point, where I was younger, I didn't have a great relationship with my dad when I was a teenager and a child.
Sure.
My dad took steps to be a better person and change, and we have a much better relationship now.
Yeah.
But he was a much different person when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I didn't really speak to him. Mm-hmm. And I also was dead set on never talking to him again and never letting him see my children and, just not having anything to do with him.
Yeah.
He's different now, and I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
But not everyone's parents do that.
Right.
That is probably one of the only cases I've heard of.
And that's one of that's kind of the thing.
And it's because he has 4 spiteful daughters.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to too. Is at the end of the day, it's if I don't step away from this, I'm just going to end up in the same situation, and
it's just walking on. It's just walking on a nail that you know is there, but never taking the nail out.
Yeah, walking on broken glass forever. You always have to be extra careful, or else something bad is going to happen. Whereas instead, if I walk away from a situation, and the best, not the best case scenario, it's hard to tell that, but the scenarios are either I don't talk to them anymore, and then I don't have that stress and that pressure and that constant anxiety in my life, and I just live my life, and I raise my kids, and my family does what it does, and we make our own way.
Yeah.
Or this gives them an opportunity to see where they don't understand and try to come at me with a sense of empathy, and maybe they will be better people. And
I highly doubt that.
But that's the thing. I don't. the only way they're gonna become better people is if they realize that there is consequences to their actions.
Well, not to mention, my dad made these changes in his life when he was much younger.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, he was in his 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
Our parents are now in their 50s, 60s,
Yeah.
depending.
Yeah, mid-late 50s.
They're not changing.
Yeah.
They're already half of their lifetime old. They're not going to change now.
That's true.
They're getting to be that age where they're old people set in their ways, and Grandma won't stop being racist because she's always been this way.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
it's time to start taking steps to pluck those last few strings that they have to you off and just do your own thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Huh. So, thanks for getting real with me for a minute.
Yeah, there's your thorn.
Yeah, that was my thorn. I kind of wanted an opportunity to talk about that because I feel like I vaguely hint at like
These
that
things
from time to time with people in my life, and I wanted to kind of like be like, hey, if you listen to the podcast, like here's my shit, and this is what's going on. So yeah, I mean it's been a weird week trying to like figure out what all of that comes from and like get a good sense of why this tension between me and my parents is not something I think we can solve. And yeah, it was.
Plus, it's like one of our only major thorns for you.
Yeah, like everything else this week was like overall pretty fucking neat. That just kind of that was the sour spot.
Yeah.
So enough about me.
My thorn.
Your thorn.
See, the thing was, it was hard for me to pick a thorn because I actually had a pretty good week.
Your usual thorn is now.
It's now my rose. It's gone.
Beautiful.
But what is it? What I wrote verbatim was, "It's hot and I'm sweaty." Also, because I quit my job, we have a little bit of a money shortage for the moment.
True.
Unless we call the IRS and they give me my $2,000 that I demand, then we won't be low on money.
We gotta find a day this week for sure to just do that. So that it's done.
We do.
And then we can just be
set for a little bit.
Yeah. I agree.
The real, I guess, thorn about the money thing is because I really don't care that much about having, like, a surplus of money. Like, I have a few different places money could come from. If I really, really needed it, I could, like, just push through on one of those pegs and have an extra $60.
Right.
But is that, if there are things we desperately need, I do have a little bit of money, that I was saving for things, mainly like our Magic the Gathering money.
Yeah, because I finally convinced you to go like super in on a Magic set because it's Forgotten Realms.
Well, you didn't have to convince me at all. I was planning on saving up
right
like $500+ to buy as much Forgotten Realms Magic the Gathering sets as I could.
Yeah.
But since I was finally done being abused at my job and I quit,
it makes it a little complicated.
The cutoff was at 300.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, we can still use all of that, and we can still get, like, a few boxes. That's, like, a decent amount of money.
Yeah, we can get some stuff. Yeah, for sure.
But if we need, like, money for ferret food, or we need money...
Which they are running low, so we're going to have to get it this week.
Or if we need money for, like... If, like, we desperately need to go out and get something to eat, which isn't, like, really desperate, but, like, if you had an emergency, you need gas, and you don't have the money because you're the only one working right now, so you're paying for everything,
right.
Then we could dip into that. Like, if you have bills you need to pay, we could take from there, but a little bit turns into a lot, and eventually we might not have any money at all for the Magic the Gathering fund. Which doesn't mean we can't buy it later on.
We can, yeah, that's true.
But I wanted to get it when it came out.
Yeah. I think we should like our goal should at least be to try to at least get one box.
That's pretty much my cutoff. I'm at least...
Yeah, we want to at least make sure we have $100 set and ready to go.
Well, it's $300. I'm letting us take out a max of $200.
Yeah.
We're keeping at least...
we have wiggle room.
So we're at least getting one box no matter what, because that's the reason I saved the money.
Right.
But if it, we can get more, but if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And we'll probably have to get some more later, but also, like, the thing is it's not really that dramatic of a thorn either, because I am, like, looking for a new job. I could have a new job pretty easily.
Yeah, that's true.
I could literally go back to Stop and Shop and they would just take me.
Yeah, that's also true.
They've always, like, the reason I left there in the first place was because that's where I was working in the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to work in a high traffic, very public position where people continuously kept walking up onto me.
Yeah, and, like, we're very lax about the mask policy.
Very in my face. Like, we didn't know how serious the whole pandemic thing was going.
Yeah, especially it was really early on and no one really had a good concept.
People were still resisting it real hard.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, like, nah. It was when they didn't even have you wearing masks. They would just give us shields for our faces.
Yeah.
And I was like, And eventually I was like, you know what? No, I don't really want to work here anymore. So I went and worked at the job I actually really, really liked.
Yeah, package store.
Because it was a lot less traffic. Yeah. And it was really just old people.
Right.
Who were being really, really safe at the point. So it was perfect. But then it closed down because of the pandemic, and then I had to work at the job I currently had, and that sucks. So I could technically go back to Stop and Shop because I didn't leave on bad terms.
Right.
But I don't want to work at the deli anymore.
Yeah, fuck that.
I'd really like...
That's not worth it.
If I want to go back, I'd probably... Yeah, I'm going to try and push through on this package store deal first. But that means that
they have new ownership. It's the same building.
It's really nice.
Whole new thing. They renovated the whole place. You know the job. It's the same building and the same local customers. So it's like you know the job and people enjoyed you there.
And I had recommendations from the previous owner and stuff.
Yeah,
so it's like
it seems like a pretty decent job. I mean, I know they're still interviewing, but like you have a pretty decent opportunity.
I need to call them at some point soon.
Yeah,
tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't want to like wait too long and have them think I'm not interested. But
right.
Regardless, it's like, while I'm just sitting here waiting, I'm not making money.
True.
And like, that's fine to a point.
Right. Yeah.
So there's gonna be a point where I'll eventually have to be like, hey, I probably have to go and apply back at Stop and Shop, unless I'm gonna apply at
after a certain point. But I'm thinking we should at least give it some time.
I'm going to.
I don't want to put you in that shitty situation.
Well, that's the thing too, is if I do go back to that place, to Stop and Shop, I might try and like really push to go into produce or the bakery.
Yeah.
Just be like, they know I have experience in the deli and the hot foods, and so there's like almost no escaping it at that point.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, no one wants to do it, and you know how, so just go.
You're doing it. It's like, I'm not coming back unless I don't work there.
It's pretty much, I think, the foot I'm going to put down. Yeah. I'm going to be like, hey, I would really like a job here. I really like the store, but I'm not working in the deli. I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I won't. Because that was my mistake in the first place. Is the other two times I went back, I was like still a teen or early 20s kind of person.
Teen, early 20s kind of person.
Yep.
Yeah, I got you.
A younger, stupider person. And so when they were like, hey, would you mind working in the deli? I was like, I guess, as long as it gets me the job.
Right.
And now I'm like, they're like, oh, would you mind working in the deli? And I'm going to be like, no. Like, literally, if that's where you put me, I don't want to work here.
Yeah, if that is where you're going to put me, I will go find a different job.
Like, there are other places in town. I'll go walk down to Sweet Jeans and ask them if they'll let me work there.
Yeah, see if you can work at, like, the breakfast cafe or something.
Yeah.
So, long roundabout way of saying it's hot and money's hard.
It's hot and I need a job.
Yeah.
And I don't want one. My rose was literally that I don't have one, and I have to get one and I don't want to.
I know.
My dream job is just like playing D&D and like taking care of kids in the
God,
house.
me too.
Like, why couldn't I live back in the like 1800s?
I don't think that would
Where I can't vote. Oh, it ruined everything.
Oh my God. Yeah, in the 1950s, where like only one of us had to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, it's been hot. The under tids sweat is real.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
It's
getting rough.
I'm just sweaty at this point. Like
all the time. Yeah.
Like where isn't there
even
sweat?
with the fan blowing, it's like it's still fucking hot.
Yeah.
It ain't enough.
Yeah, well, especially because I can't really feel it. I went over and rolled onto your side of the bed today.
Uh-huh.
I can feel it perfectly fine on your side of the bed.
Is the fan really close to me?
Yeah, I can't feel it at all.
Sorry.
Well, that's like yesterday I was drawing and I was sweaty as hell, and you're like, I'm going to sit in front of the fan. I'm like, oh, so you're just going to take the whole thing? That's cool. Thank you. I didn't say anything about it because I wasn't going to be a bitch about it.
I just really like being cold.
I also like being cold, and I think the worst part about it being cold is that it's winter and I get depressed.
Yeah, right.
The best part is that it's cold.
If it wasn't for seasonal depression, winter'd be fucking amazing.
We need to get one of those lights.
Oh yeah, those like the ones that emulate the sunlight, so you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, we should.
No,
I make winter the best.
In fall,
yeah.
I'm buying one.
Hell yeah, we'll buy one in fall. We'll get real cozy with some cocoa this year.
I'll hang them up.
We'll fucking not be depressed and live our life. It'll be great.
See if it makes a difference.
Blankets, watch some movies. It'll be beautiful.
But yeah, that was my thorn. It wasn't It wasn't really that intense or anything. It's just I'm doing some money hopscotch at the moment.
Yeah. Last but not least, our bugs.
Bud.
Mine is kind of a simple and straightforward one.
Okay.
I have, and I don't know how much I've talked about it on the podcast.
Okay.
But as someone who is a huge D&D fan and who loves to like talk, do, create, explore all the different things Dungeons and Dragons as my primary interest, but like other tabletop games to a lesser degree.
Okay.
I'm mostly like I'm a big D&D guy. Like that specific flavor of high fantasy is my fucking thing.
Yes.
And I am a huge fan, have always been a huge fan of like the different stories that other people can tell and create.
Yes.
But there's a lot of content out there to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, well over a year ago, I started putting together a like plan of action so that I could watch all of the existing episodes of Critical Role.
I know.
You know, because I've been watching 4 episodes a week since May of last year.
Yeah. Literally, it's all you do.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, it's gotten to a point where we wake up in the morning and I'm like, wow, what are we going to do with our day? And you're like, gotta hop on that Critical Role episode. And I'm like, cool, I guess it's nothing.
Yeah, we're doing nothing.
I guess it's, you're going to watch Critical Role, and I should have seen that a mile away.
Yeah.
And I'm going to figure out what I'll do with my day.
And that's the hard part, is that like for so long it's like, I got a day off, what am I gonna I gotta watch a 4.5 hour episode, and then I have half of another episode I fell asleep in the middle of to watch, that's already 6 hours of my day just watching Critical Role.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the thing is, like, I love it. I really enjoy watching actual plays. I really enjoy their specific flavor of Dungeons and Dragons. I get really interested in the characters. It's like a passion project for me. I love watching Critical Role. That being said, it takes up a lot of my time.
Yes.
And I can totally understand why people don't want to get into Critical Role, because no one has that much time to devote to one thing, I guess, besides me and people who started it from the beginning. Like,
I caught up, but it was when they were still in the middle of their first that was thing.
Like, they were,
but it's also because I'm different than you.
True. I have to be like laser focused on the screen. I can't miss little details. You are good at putting it on in the background while you do other stuff.
I would watch it and like clean my room, or I'd watch it and like play Minecraft, like things I definitely know what they're saying, but I can do other things. But also,
it's the ADHD baby.
But also, what is it? You and me are, what I was saying was that you and me are different in the fact where you're like, oh, I'm going to watch 4 episodes a week.
Yeah.
You know, on 4 different days.
Right.
You know, 1 episode for 4 days, 4 episodes.
Keep in mind, though, it's hard for me to do otherwise because I rarely get single days off where I'm not doing anything.
No, I will when I was working at that point, too. I would freaking, it was when I was working at Stop and Shop, too, so I was
so you didn't have a consistent schedule. Yeah,
I didn't have a consistent schedule, and it was when I was, like, so hard into Stop and Shop that I was working to the point where I was almost at 40 hours, and they wouldn't give me 40, so they didn't have to pay me full time, or, like, overtime, or whatever the fuck it was. It was, I was watching fucking 3 episodes a day.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Like, but it's because I don't sleep.
Right, and I very much do sleep.
So I would watch it while I was, like, eating. I would watch it while I was, like, cleaning my room. I would watch it while I, like, drew pictures. I would, like, so I would watch, like, that was the craziest thing, too, about it, is because imagine, this is what I would do. I would work for however long I worked. I'd come home, turn on an episode, watch it for 4 to 5 hours, next episode. Watch it for 4 to 5 hours, next episode, watch maybe half of it, or the whole thing, and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep for 4 hours, wake up the next day, work, episode, next episode, next episode.
And on top of that, you started it when you were first getting into D&D, which was, like, late or like mid to late 2016, they were only halfway through campaign 1. So you had a lot less to catch up on.
But while I was catching up on it, though, I think I caught them about almost like 3/4 or so.
Of the way to the end of the first.
Because by the time I caught up, I got to watch the first episode live. So they had finished, and then they took like a month off, and I watched the last episode of campaign 1 the morning of the premiere of the second season.
Oh, shit. Okay, wow. Yeah, so you basically had to binge the whole of campaign 1, which is still
and I did.
That's still 115 4-hour episodes.
Yeah.
That's a fuckload of content.
Yeah. But the only reason I was able to do that at all is because I'm not mentally healthy.
Oh, baby.
So I was like, 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours.
Just like absorb. Just like
sleep for 4 hours and go to work for 6 to 8 hours.
The other thing is like, and also like that was around the time that you had started playing D&D weekly with us.
Yeah.
So at that point you like got your hands on it, fell in love with it, and then just started drinking D&D content like a fucking like it was through a straw. Just slurping that shit right up.
Literally, so I haven't stopped since, but
yeah, you were. Well, yeah, you haven't stopped since, but you were built to do that shit. Like, you were ready to go.
My body was D&D shaped, and I just got something D&D shaped to fit.
When I started was in the middle of their pandemic break. So you had 115 episodes to go through. I had 216 episodes to go through, which was a lot. And also I was like, oh, well, I kind of want to watch them talk about their characters, so I also want to watch all the Talks Machina.
Well, that's not even how it started. You're like, oh, well, I guess I'll watch them do season 2, and I'll have to catch up. Yeah. But I also want to watch season 1, because what if there are spoilers? So I guess I'll watch both at the same time. And then, but I also want to watch them talk about both of the campaigns. Yeah. So I guess I'll watch Talks Machina for both campaigns.
I can't just do it a little bit. I have to do it a lot or not at all. That's how I am. It's just me as a person. But yeah, so that was it. And this is where, so anyway, that was a roundabout way of getting to the bud. The bud that's here is, according to my watch list schedule, I will be completely finished with all of Campaign 1, all of Campaign 2, and Talks Machina in about 4 months.
In 4 months?
All of it. I have 27.
Jeez.
I have 27 episodes of. I have 27 episodes of Campaign 2 left, and I have 36 episodes of Campaign 1
You're
left.
Still not going to be able to watch the premiere of Season 3 with me?
Oh, no, I will. I'll watch the premiere, I just won't be finished with those. Like how, like, Exandria Unlimited just started, and I watched the first episode of that with you, even though I'm still behind. I'm not going to not watch Season 3. When Campaign 3 comes out, I'm going to start that one from the beginning, because I can't fall back on that one, because I'm going to have to start the shit all over again.
Right.
So I have to watch that one live. But my intent was to have watched all of it. And that is a monumentous task that most normal humans do not have the patience to do. Mm-hmm. And I completely understand that. But I wanted to, and I'm almost there. it's within reach. I can actually finish it.
Jeez.
And like that was kind of like a fulfilling thing. Like being able to look at my list and be like, you know what? Like I really wanted to absorb everything that the story had to offer, and I did it a lot for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And we're almost done.
Jeez.
Like it's almost there.
What will you do with your life once you don't have to watch Critical Role every day?
Literally anything I want. Like that's the thing. I can just fucking do what I want. It's kind of nice. I probably will get like really into a video game or something. Or, well, yeah, knowing me, I won't. I'll probably just be like, I'm bored. Let's watch more shows, and we'll just watch like a fuckload of anime.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Now,
That's what we did before you started watching Critical Role.
Yeah, we would watch a fuckload of anime on movies all the time. That's what we'll do. But like, once we finish it, we'll finally watch through all the Ghibli movies that I've never seen. You can show me a bunch of the like really popular anime that I never watch that everyone's watched, like
Full Metal Alchemist,
like Full Metal Alchemist, and I wanted to watch Inuyasha with you because I've never seen it. Yep.
We'll like it.
So we can. That's the kind of stuff we can do. We can buy up all that. And that's the thing is that like episodes of Full Metal Alchemist or Inuyasha, they're fucking 30 minutes long. Critical Role's 4 hours. I can watch 8 of those in a single like watch period of Critical Role.
Could also start a whole nother campaign.
We could start a whole nother campaign.
Maybe we'll do our D&D campaign
like
for the
maybe
podcast.
a campaign on the podcast.
Yeah.
Ooh.
In 4 months, set your clock.
What's 4 months from now? July, August, September,
For
October.
Halloween.
Oh shit! Oh mate, that could be a thing. Maybe we can get to work on that. Do a little project for the podcast.
That'd be fun.
Okay. So yeah, that was my bud. It's basically just like I set out.
We'll be done with Critical Role soon.
I set out to watch close to 900 hours of recorded Dungeons and Dragons content, and in 4 months I will have done that. And I'm kind of proud of that.
Yeah, that's good, baby.
What's yours?
Mine was D&D as always.
Oh hell yeah.
We switched campaigns.
Yeah, we're back to the Adventures of the Dawn Valkyries.
We're back at the Dawn Valkyries. We're getting into some exciting stuff, and we did a lot of out-of-session work this week, too, which has been really fun. Like, we worked on details for Arya and Ivy's dates, and also constructed love matches for Papyrus.
We did, yeah. We came
for a long time yesterday.
Yeah, we came up with a bunch of NPC characters yesterday.
I've been fanning myself with them this entire...
With the NPCs, yeah.
Yeah, with his love matches.
Yeah, different characters that we thought, like, it would make sense for you to, for him to have some sort of connection with and possibly end up, like...
Force connections through my character, Holly, his mother.
Yeah, right. Because she's the one with, like, the political, social clout to be able to be like, hey, Lord, whatever the fuck your name is, I don't remember, have you met my son?
Yeah.
Like, he's a very good boy.
The mom at the school, like, graduation, trying to, like, get him college recommendations and shit.
Yep. That's it.
Have you met my son? He's cute.
Yeah. Okay, and the thing is, like obviously you can only pick one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not necessarily true, but for the most part, you can only pick one, like, love match that will, like, stick to his backstory. But we did get a couple of really, really cool sounding NPCs out of it.
Well, that was the best part, is because I was gonna say, I think that might have been my favorite. Well, it's not my favorite, because I liked, like, ironing out all the details for, like, the dates that Ivy and Arya went on.
Yeah.
And I liked working on all the things that Ivy did with her week, and, like, having her, like, go through and do all that stuff, and, like, seeing all the things that everybody else did. It was like the thing that I was really enticed during our D&D game too. But I was also really tired because, like I said before, I acquired a bedtime. Right. So once it hit midnight and I was watching everybody go through their stories, I was like, dying.
Yeah, because it wasn't your turn at that point, and you're just like, oh my god, what do I do?
So I'm just like sitting, like it's not even. I was very enticed.
Sure.
But I'm sitting here staring at other people going through their thing. I'm not moving. I'm not talking. I could be asleep, and it's my bedtime.
It's past your bedtime by a decent bit.
By that point,
it was an hour past your bedtime.
But one of my favorite things was going through and realizing that because I don't know how much I've talked about Kalkala to people on the podcast.
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't think
it's a civilization I made. Most of my characters live in it.
Yeah.
And I put so much work into this place.
So much.
They have, like, all these different traditions and rules and, like, taboos and, like things that are, like, specialized to them.
Yeah.
And I realized, while I was going through Ivy's week, that it's fall.
Yeah.
And also realized, because I got a new notebook for my birthday, that I was like, oh, I'll, like, set in stone and, like, write out all the rules for Kilcullen weddings, because I was talking to Ken about, I was teasing you about how Ivy and I are going to get married, and realized that we can't do a wedding in the traditional style of Arya's family, because it consists of going out on a ship half a mile to sea and jumping into the ocean.
Oh, shit, right, yeah, you cannot.
Ivy won't do that.
Yeah.
So we're doing another Kilcullen wedding, which we've already done one of. So I already had the rules, like, written.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I'll just write them all in super detail.
Yeah, right.
And so then
knows exactly how the wedding is supposed to function.
And then I realized, while I was writing it down, that part of the, like, courting ritual starts in fall. It is fall.
Yep. And Papyrus is 1 year away from being at the age
cutoff
where he would take over the
is
control of the
supposed
city.
to get married and take over.
Yeah.
Because he's part of the head family for the Silverfang clan. You know, Papyrus Silverfang.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, because it started because I was like, oh, Ivy, also needs to follow this.
Right.
So, but also she's ahead of the game. Like,
yeah, but I mean, Arya and Ivy have been going on dates every fucking 3 days.
Well, they've been going on dates every 3 days. They've liked each other since they were fucking 5. Like, they had a little rough patch for, like, the last 5 years, but, like, yeah, but she's gotten over it, like, through a long time in the Underdark. Like, like, so, like, they're ahead of the game, it's fine, but if she is going to do traditions as written, which is she's still technically expected to do, and if we're going to get on track to, after we're done with this campaign, Arya wants to, like, wander the world and go out and stuff, then Ivy needs to start working on fulfilling traditions now. Part of it starts in the fall.
Right.
And so then I was like, okay, so I'll, like, start planning for that, and I started planning for that, and then I realized Papyrus needs to do that too. They're twins.
Yep.
But it's more important for Papyrus because Ivy's technically like, well, if my mom comes back, I guess I can't technically, like, legally, like, leave home without, like, getting married and moving.
Right.
Technically.
Yeah.
It's not, like, that strict, but it's like you're not supposed to, like, leave forever.
That's not the tradition.
That's not the tradition.
Right.
No one's gonna, like, track you down and kill you if you don't, but it's like, they'll be like, oh.
Like, why are you like that?
Oh, okay.
Why are you the way you are?
Guess she didn't like us.
Yeah.
She just left. So I'm like, it's more important for Papyrus because he's actually supposed to be in charge and he's going to be in a little bit. So I was like, he needs to start thinking about, and probably has been for a while, retrospectively thinking about his love matches and who he's gonna try and, like, go on dates too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to come up with at least 8 options. I wanted to come up with Holly's list plus the ones Papyrus added to it. So we came up with 8. And
people that he, like, met and he was like, I could see a future with.
Yeah, like, they're people either that were suggested to me or I kind of already like them.
Cute.
And then so we fleshed out all of these characters. And then I was like, okay, which ones are the ones that he already kind of, like, was, like, I'm not that interested?
Right.
And then who is he, like, actually interested in? And I thought I was going to get rid of way more, but I think I only shelved 3 options.
3, yeah. We had still a healthy list that was done.
So then it came down to, okay, who's, like, looks like they'd actually be interested in, like, helping him rule a village.
Right. Which is kind of the key.
Village verging on town. You know, because it's huge.
Yeah.
And that narrowed it down to, I think it was, like, 3. Or 2. Yeah, 3. And then
3, yeah.
It was 3. It was 1 girl and 2 boys.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, maybe we should knock one of these boys out of here just because then it's a girl and a boy.
Yeah, sure.
and it was kind of easy with the three to figure who probably would.
Which one of them made two of the guys had the two guys had very similar general personalities and interests, but
he was already better friends with
one of them. He had much more history with.
So then it came down to the two, and then we ended up picking the one. So we have a good idea of what's going on with that.
Did you want to talk about any of?
No, we'll leave it.
Yeah, well, because I know Kyle and Ryan are listening.
We could talk about some of them. We just won't give hints as to who any of these people are.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, not who they are, but who we went through on the list with.
Yeah. Talk about some of the characters that ended up being
people.
potential love matches for pirates.
Well, especially because it'd be fun to talk about, because I know Kyle's probably listening, and so he'll know some of these kids.
That's true.
Two of them are the soon-to-be high priestesses and priest of
priest or priestess
of the Kilcullen churches of Maliki and Sylvanas.
Yep. One of them is
Lady Kima and Malachite's kid.
Yeah, so that was the other thing too. Is that we knew that Lady Kima was probably married, and we knew that Malachite was a character. Malachite is the the sort of intellectual town planner and the school teacher,
And one of our only wizards.
Yeah, basically one of the only wizards who exists in your whole society. And Lady Kima was the high priestess of Sylvanas, the god of nature. And the two of them both existed, and we've met them in game, both in the Wormtamers campaign and with the Dawn Valkyries as well. And we kind of thought it out, and we're well, we know that she's married and she probably has a child. Who would the partner be? And as we sort of developed the child's personality and stuff, it made a lot of sense for Malachite to be their father, both because Malachite and Kima definitely, I could see them working out together.
Well, they work out together, they work together, they
Yeah.
know each other, they've been on a council together for
at least 20 years at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah.
So it made sense, and thus Flint was born.
Yeah.
He's their half-elf wizard child. And then there's the priestess of Maliki, which is actually fun because we have the two churches.
Yeah.
But we'd only, because Kima's the one that's on the council.
Right.
Holly knew her better. As a child, so she ended
only
up...
one of the religious and typically because Sylvanas, the nature deities all form a pantheon of their own, where all of the nature deities are within that pantheon, and Sylvanas is the leader of the pantheon.
Right.
So it makes sense for the high priest of Sylvanas to be the one with political power,
which is on the council.
Yeah.
But so we haven't really delved that deep into the Church of Maliki, which is actually also kind of newer. The Church of Sylvanas has been there for a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
And the Maliki one's been there for a long time, but it's we even incorporated it into when we built the village in Minecraft. The Temple of Sylvanas is made out of wood.
Right.
And the Temple of Maliki is made out of stone.
Right, because it's newer.
Because it's newer, where they figured out how to do construction through stone work and only stone, and so they just used that. But that's Wisteria. And she's a fawn.
Yeah.
That was kind of, it was Ken's idea, but I was fully on board. And I feel like it was kind of inspired by Maliki herself because it made a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But also because I saw a fawn on Exandria Unlimited, and I fell in love. And so we're it makes a million times sense, and it'll give us a chance to, we figured out that, her dad's the one that was the old priest of Maliki, and she's gonna be the new priestess.
Yeah, and they're super cool. They're visitors from the Feywild because you have the moon pool in your village, and that is those moon pools. There's only a few of them in the world, and they're sacred druidic groves and sites. And Mialiki holds some sway and power over them. Her holy realm literally is a physical location on the Feywild. So it made sense for Mialiki will be I'm gonna send some people from the Feywild down to this village to serve as additional caretakers of the village defending this moon pool. It's a sacred site of nature. And so you have literal Fey from the Feywild who basically immigrated to Kelkala to protect this natural site. And it makes perfect sense.
A few years they should just they've just become part of the group.
Yeah.
But I think her mom is from the Feywild in particular, and her dad is an old Kilcullen fawn.
Well,
or satyr.
I think they all came from the
I'm sure they did.
Their family line was originally from there. He may have been born here and then took over. Kind of she probably was also maybe
born
not born here because the mother.
Yeah, maybe not.
But
depends on where she was.
They spend a lot of their time he's a powerful high priest. He can cast plane shift. They go back and forth between the Feywilds and here all the time.
They can do what they want.
So it makes perfect sense for that to have happened, and she kind of lives between her mother's domain in the Feywilds and her father's church within the village of Gandar.
Yeah. And then there's Antharr Froome's child, Gabby Froome.
Yeah, Gabrielle.
Gabby Froome.
So Antharr Froome, for those of you who know what's it called? The Horde of the Dragon Queen supplement. The representative to the Council of Dragons, who's a member of the Order of the Gauntlet, is this kind of rotund, jovial, red-bearded human fellow named Antharr Froome. And our player characters became really, really good friends with him. He was an old war buddy.
We helped set him up with his lady.
Yeah, you set him up with a lady. They have a very for those of you who are Dragon Ball Z fans, him and his wife have a very Krillin and Android 18 relationship. Mm-hmm. He's this goofy, talented and powerful, but kind of fun-loving and a little bit simple guy. Mm-hmm. And then she's this sassy, badass, take no prisoners
kind of lady.
Yeah, and the two of them just are madly in love with each other, and
I love it. Yeah. And they they went to my characters, Holly and Ashes. They went to the renewing of their vows, and Antharr was the one that caught the bouquet.
Yeah,
and they got married shortly afterward. They had their daughter.
Yeah,
which is funny that I realized because a lot of these characters that we came up with are girls, which we rolled for randomly.
Right.
But most of them are girls, and I was most of the children born from this whole group, or at least this group in this
the
year.
Figures involved with the war against the cult.
Yeah, that fought Tiamat and stuff. Or at least the characters that had children in that year that were involved had girls.
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
It's very funny.
What is it? She's Gabrielle. She wants to be called Gabby. She's a human. Mm-hmm. She's a divine soul sorcerer with violet hair. She's a shit kicker. She likes to throw darts and skip rocks, and she has the lucky feet.
She's very lucky.
She's suspicious of others. She's very she wants to do what she wants. She's kind of arrogant. She's fun.
Yeah. Let's pick one more good one.
One more good one?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Well, we're more than 10 minutes over 2 hours, so.
Okay, well then if we're doing only one more, I have to go with Cider Hallwinter's child.
Oh, yeah.
Katrina Hallwinter. I love her.
Cider Hallwinter, or Cider Hallwinter, I believe is the pronunciation thing. I maybe the pronunciation is right, but that's the one we use for our campaign. He kind of became the town master of Phandalin after they rescued the town from the troublemaking forces around there. Before all the dragon business,
he married Sister Gabrielle.
He did. He married the priestess of Timora, who lives within Phandalin. The town master and the priestess kind of just ended up in a comfortable courtship.
I love it. She's a half elf cleric to Timora. She's very she likes to wear flamboyant, outlandish clothes. She's got the Southern Belle feel to her.
Yeah, we're really going full Southern Belle vibes.
She's got a high constitution but low intelligence, so she's stupid, and I love her.
Yeah.
She's really good at impressions. She's what is it? She's the person that loves the drama.
Yeah, she's all about the hottest.
She likes to wear really fancy dresses, and she likes to go around and just drink cold beverages on the porch and get the hot goss from the ladies.
Yeah, she sees all the ladies in town walking by, and she's like, "Oh hey, come on over, have a glass of tea with me." She sits down and she's just like, "Did you hear about what old man Harbin's doing? I heard he's been spending a whole lot of time with that lady down at the tavern. I wonder what his wife thinks about that."
Yeah, and she had the habit where she's always chewing something, and I'm she's that girl from high school that chews the ends of her hair, and then when you come around, she's like, I didn't have my hair in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, she's this like this like gorgeous dolled up like
Yeah.
like
She really likes things
Belle
to be
the Ball.
pretty.
Yeah.
But she has a very specific phobia to mice, and we decided that like anything that was a rodent whatsoever or had rodent features, she just calls it a mouse, and she's afraid of it. Like rat, mouse, ferret, mouse.
Yeah.
Like
she's like the full on screaming, feet up on the chair.
yeah, like on the
Mouse
table.
fear.
Like she doesn't like it's a mouse, and she wants you to kill it and like get it out of there.
So I kind of want. That's why I kind of want to go to Phandalin now, because what is she gonna do about Jara?
Oh my god.
A flying mouse.
A flying mouse!
Lose it. Lose it.
Oh my god, but she killed me. I love her so
Yeah,
much.
she's a lot of fun. There's a couple other characters, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, there's. I was gonna say there were 8 on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, technically 9, if because I was saying that when we constructed the list,
Yeah.
that I wanted it to be like the list Holly made for him of like love matches, and then he added a few of them on himself.
Yeah.
So technically it was less, but it ended up being 8, and then overall technically there were 9.
Right, because there was one that he wouldn't have added to the list, but he kept in mind.
He kept in mind and got rejected.
Did recently get rejected, poor boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. She fell in love with a large furry creature instead. Thanks,
Well,
Ryan.
I love it though. It's so great.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, like just D&D this week has been
D&D.
awesome, and I'm excited to do more.
To see what more comes back. I'm very excited for the direction that the campaign is going in. There are a couple of different things that you guys could go off to, and I think you've pretty much settled on where you're going next. And I'm really excited. Is the best thing I will say.
That's the thing too, is because when we were doing Ravnica,
Yeah.
I knew where our end was going to be. I didn't know how many episodes it would take us to get there.
Yeah, but
But I knew
what?
that when we got out of Gruul territory, that was when we were going to switch campaigns.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that gives me like a cut and dry. I don't know how long it'll take, but I know where we're going to switch.
Yeah.
Kind of comfortability. Not that it really mattered. It's just
Right.
I had that like where I'm like, okay, I know we're going to switch.
Yeah.
And now we're back at Dawn Valkyries, and I'm like, I have no idea what is
Yeah.
happening.
There's a lot of stuff going. Well, that was the thing, is like I had no idea that we all thought Calcala was going to be a 1-session stop. We didn't
Right.
think we were going to turn into 2 months of fucking content.
Right.
But you guys seemed really interested in what was going on, so you went for it. It was fun.
No,
So
that was a
who
really
knows?
good arc, but that's also the thing too, is now, like, what direction do we go in, and like where, like how huge is, like, the thing, that's like really my point, is I don't know how big this arc is.
Sure.
And I won't know for a little bit, I think.
Honestly, I mean, like, the correct answer is basically, like, this arc is as big as you guys make it. If you guys go to a place and you decide you want to go in, I'm prepared for that.
I feel like that's how it's gonna be. I feel like we're going
We're gonna
into...
go to the Iron Vale and it's gonna be a fucking 3-month trip or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're gonna go to the Iron Vale, and then we're like... I think... I don't know. I feel like we're not gonna cut it to switch back until we, like, make a full loop. Like, and by full loop...
Resolve all of our drama.
Not all of, like, a good amount of our drama. Like, I feel like, I don't know why, and it probably isn't completely how it's gonna go, but I feel like it's, like, I just feel in my gut that this arc is gonna be big. Like, we're,
Sure could be.
like that I can't see the end of it. And maybe it's just because I can't see the end of it that I think it's gonna be big.
Sure could be.
But I feel like we're, like, gonna go to Iron Vale, and we're either going to, like, cross the desert, or go to hell, or go to the Shadowfell, and then once that
You
resolves...
guys, there is a possibility that you guys could end up in the Shadowfell in a couple sessions.
Yeah, and then once that resolves, like, when we get all of our crap, or we might do all 3, and then, I don't know if we'll do all 3, those are all separate arcs.
Yeah, because
But-
you've still got the whole, like, the Darendil's whole arc, which apparently now extends into the Shadowfell.
Yes.
And you've got Iron Vale, because you know that somebody's squatting in Kylia's castle.
Oh.
And then we've got to get Fargus home.
Yeah,
So we got to go to Rumblefoot Farm.
yes. So we have a few, and that's the thing, too, is those are all 3 different arcs, and maybe it's just because I'm being ambitious,
Sure.
where I'm like, we're gonna do it all, and then we'll switch back over,
Yeah.
but, like, those are all separate arcs, we probably won't do them all in one go.
Who knows? Depends on how long you spend in each place.
Right.
If you guys go to...
Oh, yeah, if, like, Rumblefoot Farm is, like, a day stop, then it's, like, it's a day stop.
Rumblefoot Farm could easily be one session. It could be 5 if you guys want to get real crazy with it.
It's all speculation. My main point is, I feel like the next arc that we go to before we switch back to Ravnica is gonna be big.
I agree.
And I'm already getting to the point where, like I told you before, where when we start rolling in a new campaign, I don't want to stop. Like, I can feel the tires starting to move.
You're like, the arcs, I see the arcs. I want to get through them before we stop.
Yeah. But I don't know if we're going to do it all, and I know it's going to kill everybody, because it always does when we switch.
Yeah, it's a hard adjustment.
But, like, I feel like there's already I can feel the wheels turning for me.
Absolutely.
On where we're going, and I'm getting ready to fucking make a full blast through it, but I'm gonna get stopped.
Yeah. It's the hard part about running 2 campaigns.
I love it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing
it's
is,
really good.
I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million times more, that, like, the wheels will start going, and I'm gonna start fucking going 110 miles an hour in an 80.
Yeah, for sure.
And get stopped by a cop. Before we switch.
Every fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited to see what you guys do with it. I think there's a lot of cool stuff coming up.
Yeah.
So I think this bud has a pretty good chance of blooming. So.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna bloom into something I don't expect.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right. So with that, this went way longer than I expected.
I told you it would.
You did.
I told you it would.
Before, you're like, we're gonna go way over, and I was like, nah. It's gonna
Which
be
is
like
super
an hour
funny
and a half.
because he was like, "It's just roses and thorns. It's not going to go that long." And I'm like, literally, because he said it to me a few times before that when I was like, "Okay, we need to start because it's 10." Or I said I wanted to start at 10.
Yeah.
We didn't start getting ready till 10.
Yeah.
And then we started recording at 10:30, and then we were talking about other shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, "We need to start." Because if we don't start...
Because now it's like well after midnight.
Yeah.
Like almost 1 in the morning.
I'm like, if we don't start, we're going to push it off for another half hour.
Yeah.
And then we're not going to get finished until like 2 in the morning. And then you're going to have to like rush to get this like processing and shit. And he's like, it's not going to be that long. And I'm like, every time you say it's not going to be that long, we extend it by at least a half hour.
You're correct. And we quite literally did that.
Look how fucking...
I said it was going to be... I think I said it twice, and I was like, it's going to be like an hour and a half tops.
Yep.
It is about 2.5 hours.
There you go.
So, yep. You were exactly correct.
Spot on.
Mm-hmm. Why would I ever doubt you? Why should I doubt you? I shouldn't doubt you. You're always right.
I don't know. I think the question you're asking is, why do you continue to doubt me?
I am a fool. Nothing but a fool. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in and listening to our ramble.
You have a recommendation to go through?
I do have a recommendation to go through. That's how I wanted to close it out. This one's a pretty easy one. I kind of alluded to it with one of my topics. For those of you who are interested in absorbing D&D content, and especially for those of you who have been listening to us talk about
D&D.
Our D&D podcast we're going to do on this channel, and having us never do it, and you're like desperate
No, it's coming in October now.
That's my rough plan. Is
you got 4 months to prepare for it. If it's not ready by October, then I don't know what you're doing.
Eep. But yeah, so that's the intent is for us to eventually start one. But in the meantime, if you ever were interested in taking not the same dive that I did, but taking a dive into actual plays like Critical Role, as an example, and you decided that was maybe going to be way too much effort because there's literally almost 1,000 hours of content to watch. Critical Role just did something really, really neat that I'm very excited about.
This is where the fawn's from that I was telling you about.
They just launched a brand new 8-part series. They are 4-hour episodes. There are only 8 4-hour episodes. There's one out now, and they're releasing them weekly at this point. And it's like by the time you watch this, the second episode will be airing probably about a day or 2 later.
Our episodes come out on Wednesday.
Yeah,
so probably by the time this comes out, it will be premiering tomorrow.
Yes.
At about 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Totally recommend watching it. For the first time ever, Matt Mercer has stepped away from the DM's chair. He's been kind of running his World of Exandria for the entirety of all these campaigns. He has passed the torch.
Let me know if I remember her name, because I don't remember any celebrities, but I think I know what her name is. Not the full name, but her first name.
Yeah.
Is her name Abria?
It's Abria, yes.
Hey!
Abria Iyengar. Who has been in a number of different, like Wizards of the Coast sponsored Let's Play or actual play streams, a bunch of other live streams with smaller independent developers who've been live streaming their own thing. She guested as a player character in a campaign that Matt and Marisha also played in with Dimension 20, Pirates of Leviathan. And she's been DMing on her own for a while. And Matt basically trusted her to say, hey, like, I'm giving up the reins, Taldore is yours.
Yeah.
We're gonna do an 8-part campaign where Matt and Ashley and Liam from the core Critical Role cast and voice actor Robbie Daymond, most popular probably for Goro Akechi in Persona 5 and Tuxedo Mask in Sailor Moon, the English dub. And Amy Carrero, who is an actress and voice actress. She's in, like, some shows. I think she's going to be in the spin-off of that, The Boys, that Amazon superhero show that people really like.
I don't know, you're incredibly missing the fact that she's the voice of She-Ra.
Well, that's the other thing. She is the voice of Adora in She-Ra.
The new rebooted version.
Yeah, the extremely gay She-Ra. The good
Yeah.
one. So those two are playing characters as well, and Abria has kind of taken over the world and is serving as the DM for this. I think it's really, really neat. It's an opportunity for, like, some of the other members of Critical Role, especially Marisha, who is the executive producer on the show, so she's, like, in charge of all of that. She gets to kind of work her directing chops. People who normally don't get to play on Critical Role get to play as a part of a main canon storyline in Exandria's universe. A different DM gets to explore that world, and it sounds like the intent of it is both as a springing in point. You don't have to know anything about the previous campaigns to make sense of this story. So if you were ever interested in Critical Role but didn't want to watch 900 hours of content, you can come watch 8 episodes of Exandria Unlimited, and you will be able to experience the Critical Role experience without having to spend most of 2 years getting into it. So I'm really excited for that. I say you guys should totally check it out if you were ever interested in it. Their first episode is has gone up on YouTube as of Monday of the week this episode comes out. It's Monday at noon.
So it should be on YouTube on their page.
Yeah, should be on YouTube on Critical Role's page. I believe the episode will be titled The Nameless Ones. It should be the first thing that pops up when you go to their channel. And if you like it, follow along from there, because I will be too, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as always, thank you very much for spending the afternoon and evening with us. We love you very much. And have a good week.
Love you, bye.
Okay, love you, goodbye.